Chapter 141, Mumu's Expectation. The third star trial didn't start as soon as Yunshi had expected. The girls had been living on the island for half a month from when they fell down from the sky. As Hua Yu had expected, no rescuers came. Even if it was the White Lotus Sword Domain Master, he wouldn't dare enter the eye of the storm, not to mention others. Maybe they were the first visitors setting their feet on the tropical island. Mayor, why hasn't the trial started? Yunshi had waited for half a month and was well prepared every night. However, he still didn't see any signs of the trial starting. Probably because the star trial this time involved too many strong beings. As the star's prolocutor, Yunshi's exclusive star elf mayor had a special premonition. This time, the star trial wouldn't be some niche like the previous two trials. The first trial, in the dark forest, and the second trial in the tall tower, weren't at the same level as the next trial. They were in the middle of the eye of the storm, the dead zone, which may have a frightening monster that could even eliminate a hero-ranked team. No one knew exactly how many monsters were in the eye of the storm. If so, I'm really behind the 8 ball. Yunshi forced a smile. No one could know beforehand how terrifying the star trial could be. If Maya was right, then he would encounter monsters from the eye of the storm island, and the intruders from the void. It would be a nearly impossible task for him. How many times would he die in this trial? 1,000 times, 2,000 times, or more. But he had to face it, because only the deepest despair would help him understand the value of life and freedom, so that he could vitalize his potential. At the very least, he was the only person who had a chance to save everyone on the island. At least, I must learn to master my sky-flying sword to the extent that I can face true hero-ranked existences. This was a goal Yunshi made for himself. No matter how many times he would die, he must accomplish it. May, can you look for my papa with me? As Yunshi swore that he must become strong to protect the girls, he heard Mumu's sweet voice. Mumu, are you still looking for your father? Yunshi took a breath, looking at Mumu running towards him. They had waited too long time. Even though Hua Yu hadn't told them the truth, the girls still gradually became depressed. At this time, Mumu became their favorite delight as she was still carefree and optimistic. Yunshi wondered how her mom raised her. She was just like a blank sheet when she encountered many common-sense situations of life. She didn't even know how to find her way in the wild, and often lost her way carelessly in the forest. I'm not a direction idiot. There were just too many trees. Mumu insisted that she wasn't a direction idiot, even though it had become a daily task for Yunshi to look for Mumu. Incidentally, the several squirrels who harassed Mumu in the past had become familiar with her. They often followed her running in the forest, and that was one of the reasons why Mumu often lost her way in the forest. Mumu's mom must be a beauty judging from Mumu's appearance. Why would she agree to let Mumu look for her father alone? Her confused daughter couldn't even find the way by herself. Mumu, your papa isn't in the forest. At least, he can't be on this island. This is a desert island. Yunshi stroked Mumu's head and persuaded her. But Papa and Mama met each other and fell in love on an island. Mumu raised her head, looking at Yunshi seriously. So, Mumu thinks that it's very likely that Papa is on this island. I just haven't found him yet. Well, the possibility. I can't say that it's zero, Yunshi whispered, finally surrendering to Mumu's innocent eyes. That man. The man who abandoned his cute daughter and virtuous wife. Come and bring your daughter back. If no one looked after Mumu, she was very likely to be kidnapped by strange men. May, can you be my papa's bride? If so, I can call you Mama. Mumu suddenly said something flabbergasting as she looked at Yunshi. No, impossible. No way. Yunshi felt his back cold. It was really a bad joke. Mama said that Papa was too amorous and irresolute. As a result, he faced a nice boat, one, Mumu said, then asked Yunxi in confusion, what are the meanings of amorous and nice boat? Oh, so that's what happened, the man finally paid for what he did. Yunxi quickly shook his head. This wasn't something that children should know. He didn't want to expose the ugly adult world to her. That should be your mom's joke. Your mother must like your father a lot. Mama said that she must be the woman who liked Papa best. To this point, she won't give up or concede to anyone. No matter how many years pass and how many rivals she has to defeat, she will be Papa's only lover. As long as he is still alive, she will pay any price to find him. What a persistent woman. However, it was also a manifestation of love. To Yunxi, who couldn't stay with his first love, he also longed for such a pure, persistent love. How would any boy not be that pure in front of his first love? Suddenly, Yunxi started to worry about Hua Hua. What was she doing now? There are too many of them. If I can't get rid of them and find little Sheet as fast as I can, he will be in danger. Hua Hua wiped her sweat away. The situation around her was becoming worse and worse. Compared to the first battlefield, the situation now was developing towards the worst direction. The eye of the storm. She shouldn't have come here at this time. One nice boat is a meme spawning from the image board for Chan from the cancellation of the regular broadcasting of the anime School Days in Japan. The program was then replaced with relaxing images of scenery and classical music. A boat was pictured, and someone commented, "Nice boat." Chapter 142, The Monster Walking Through the Moist Tropical Jungle. Yunxi curiously looked at Mumu bouncing and vivacious like a bunny. Looking at her from her back, the strange headwear on Mumu's head looked like a pair of cute long rabbit ears. Mumu, who made your headwear? It was Papa. It was Papa's gift. Mama always told me that Papa was a great man. He can do many things that no one else can do. He knows how to dig out unusual meaning from any trifle. So, Mumu's Papa is a very, very, very great man. Mumu opened her arms, trying her best to describe her Papa, the man she hadn't even seen once. So, what was his job? Yunxi felt confused hearing Mumu's words. What kind of person was Mumu's father? He abandoned his wife and daughter, but they still loved him and never complained about him. From Mumu's words, Yunxi felt that her father was an amorous, unreliable man, but Mumu still thought that he was a great man. Papa knew how to make beautiful things. He had created a cute doll that could act like a living human. He had written an old long poem, which recorded the truth and future of the world. He had created a gem that was as beautiful as the sun and as mysterious as the moon. Even the gods contended with each other for his gem. Anyway, Mumu likes him best. He is the greatest father in the world. Is that so? According to Mumu's words, Yunxi imagined her father's appearance in his mind. He should be a man about 30 or 40 years old and was unfettered. Maybe he was an innocent, unworldly artist. Since he could even enchant Mumu's mother, who must be a great beauty, his artistic talent must be very high and unique. He knew how to write poems, make gems and dolls, and his artworks were popular among the upper classes. Because he was too absorbed in his artist creations, he didn't pay too much attention to his emotional life, and his daily life was also a complete mess. After Mumu's mother conceived and had Mumu, he didn't want to undertake family responsibility, so he ran away without leaving a message. And it seemed that he had also had relationships with other women. Sigh. Were artists all irresponsible like him? Mumu is looking forward to meeting you. She even came to look for you alone. Since you have had a child, why don't you return home and enjoy the happiness of a family union? A child like Mumu will be very poor if her father can't stay with her. However, it was impracticable to look for Mumu's father on the island. As an artist, he probably had run to the high society in Western God's domain. I hope you can find your father. Yunshi walked to Mumu, staying on the summit of the volcano together with her. He looked around the island. Suddenly, he felt something wrong. Was it due to the atmosphere or the island's shape? Yunshi couldn't accurately describe his weird feeling. Every time, when he stood at this place and overlooked the island, he always had this feeling, as if he subconsciously noticed something wrong in his sight. His instinct had discovered it, but his mind still hadn't discerned it. The island, is something wrong? Yunshi murmured unconsciously. Of course. Because this is an eye. Mumu answered naturally. Eye. Mumu's words made Yunshi see the light. He finally noticed it. The island was too flat. Especially the coastline, there were no reefs which all natural islands should have. The island's shape looked like a narrow eye. The highest volcano he was standing on was the center of the eye, and the volcanoes around formed the pupil together with it. Could it be, the truth of the island was? Looking at the ground under his feet, Yunshi felt creeped out. If the whole island was an eye of a massive monster, then how big was the monster? Could it be bigger than the white holy dragon who was 100 kilometers long? The secret treasure in White Lotus Sword Domain. Can it be? Yunshi had a crazy guess in his mind, but he quickly shook his head. He shouldn't speak it out. He wouldn't expose the truth to others. The island under their feet was just a part of a creature. That was too creepy. If the creature woke up, then none of the girls on the island would survive. Why? White Lotus Sword Domain was just a lower-level sword domain. Why was there a sleeping super monster? Yunshi finally understood why the star trial hadn't started. It must be a giant project to drag the sleeping monster into the star's dream. Yunshi could think of no way to defeat the sleeping monster in the star trial. It had nothing to do with his will or courage. It would be just as desperate as using an egg to break a stone, when the stone was a diamond that was 1,000,000 times larger than the egg. I saw it when I fell from the sky. This is its eye, that is its tail, and that is its heart. Mumu waved her hand, pointing out the big secret hiding in the eye of the storm. It's a very, very big guy. It seems that it had slept for a very, very long time. Maybe the storms in this area are its dreams. Did she see it? Had she also found out the truth about the eye of the storm? Yunshi looked at Mumu in surprise. When Mumu fell from the sky, she had found the weird part of the sea area. Huayu was right. There was really a frightening monster in the eye of the storm. Huayu just didn't expect that the monster was actually this massive. They were standing on the monster's eye. Chapter 143, Transformation of the Stars. 1. After finding out the desperate truth, Yunshi was uneasy for several days. After all, the truth that the girls and he were on the eye of an incredibly large monster was too appalling. Only Mumu was still carefree, which made Yunshi feel really envious. At the same time, some changes, although ordinary people hadn't noticed them, were happening. Every night, the girls on the island could see the stars in the sky becoming brighter and brighter, and the number of stars in the sky were also increasing. Normally, unless one was an astronomer, it would be hard to discern the stars save for the famous stars. Most of the stars were lifeless. Only the stars that could be intelligent species habitats had the probability to form an embryonic form as a new god's domain. Sky Sword God's Domain was a large god's domain located in the eastern Star River. It was formed by countless sword domains, including thousands of stars. Every sword domain had its own sword palace. Sky Sword God's Domain had hundreds of lower-level sword domains. Most of them, including White Lotus Sword Domain, Flying Swallow Sword Domain, and Stygian Sword Domain, took sword as their names. The middle-level sword domains were more complex. Some sword domains were named after famous swords such as Dragon Abyss, Xianyuan, and Sky River, but there were also dozens of sword domains that used country names such as Deliang, Dijin, and Deming. As for Sky Sword God's domain's greatest honor, top-level sword domains, there were only 4, Dexia, Dezhou, Dahan, and Detang. Dexia Sword Domain, which was known for its oldest artifact, was the capital of all the sword domains. Dezhou Sword Domain, Dahan Sword Domain, and Detang Sword Domain had the largest population and were known as the 3 Holy Sword Domains. Most of Sky Sword were born in the 3 sword domains. The rank of a sword domain wasn't immutable. White Lotus Sword Domain was a lower-level sword domain, but it had once been a middle-level sword domain. Most of the noble families in White Lotus Sword Domain had been founded during that period of time. All thanks to the only Sky Sword in the history of White Lotus Sword Domain, Yunhai, White Lotus Sword Domain managed to upgrade to become a middle-level sword domain at that time. He forged an artifact, the symbol of middle-level sword domain, for White Lotus Sword Domain, and left his legacy here. After doing that, he left White Lotus Sword Domain and became a Sky Sword. Benefit from Yunhai the Sword Master's efforts, his birthplace finally had the honor to be regarded as a middle-level sword domain, even though both its population and territorial area didn't meet the requirements. After Yunhai's departure, no new legend-rank person had been born in White Lotus Sword Domain. The sword domain gradually descended to become a lower-level sword domain again. Even so, White Lotus Sword Domain still attracted many geniuses from other sword domains. Every year, when Sword Palace's entrance test began, many geniuses came to this sword domain to try their luck. They wanted to repeat Yunhai's experience and obtain his legacy. Anyway, all the sword palaces in the whole Sky Sword God's domain were an integral whole. Unfortunately, so many years had passed, no one had comprehended what Yunhai saw and understood in Sword Palace. The secret treasure of White Lotus was still a mysterious, alluring tale. The traces of stars couldn't be changed easily. Even with the destruction of a star, the end of the world to the living beings on it was just a small wave in the vast star sea. The stars in the star sea always followed certain rules, to be a part of the memories of the river of time, and to be a part of the entire universe. However, several days ago, some people suddenly discovered that the stars in Eastern God's domain, especially in Sky Sword God's domain, were changing in an incomprehensible way. Many people thought that they were mistaken when they saw the first change. There were various tools that had observed the change, such as a star observation tower on a hill, a large magic circle on the mountains, and a matrix formed by countless mirrors in a desert. There was even an all-seeing eye, which was transformed from a planetoid and wouldn't even waste its computing power to observe small sword domains. They had all observed and recorded the change. The data they recorded was so inconceivable that it could even make their observers have a heart attack. Looking at the data, many people's world outlook crashed. It's impossible. Some people were hysteric. Gosh. There must be something wrong with my eyes. Tell me, this is not true. This is not true. Whether it was a saint in Western God's domain, or an astrologer in Eastern God's domain, when they observed the absurd change, they went mad. Soon afterwards, several gods' domains got into a mess. Most of the people who could divine via astrology or calculate destiny were in the leading class of their gods' domains. After they commanded, the whole god's domain had to follow their orders. 24 hours passed, they had assembled more observation tools. Hero-ranked people, even legend-ranked people were all working for this. The star saints and astrologers who dedicated themselves to astronomy all fell into a frenzy. They shouted unintelligible terms and acted very excited as if they were children who just discovered a new toy. All the observation tools were aiming at the same location. At that star region, the stars' orbits were breaking. On the second day, they observed the same phenomenon. No matter whether they looked like old men or young boys, these godlike powerful beings were all staring at that star region as if they were possessed. The stars' orbits shouldn't change within such a short time. They should never change within 1,000 years, 10,000 years, or even 1,000,000 years. Their life cycle was beyond mortals' imagination, as long as the universe itself. However, they witnessed it with their own eyes now. They observed that the never-changing star orbits were changing. Many people's world outlook was shaken. They even started to wonder if they mistook the nature of the world in their past lives. Chapter 144, Transformation of the Stars, 2. On the second day, after their world outlook was shocked again, they built more observation tools and used a wider variety of monitoring magic to observe this star region. Some people had even stepped over the star bridge, traveling to Sky Sword God's domain day and night in order to observe the abnormal phenomena with a closer look. The astrologers in Eastern God's domain had already gathered around Sky Sword God's domain to observe the rare astronomical spectacle at the closest place. Since the beginning of the history of Eastern God's domain, it was the first time that so many astrologers had gathered together. On the third day, finally the visitors from Western God's domain had reached Sky Sword God's domain. After giving a previous notice to their fraternities in Eastern God's domain, they quickly arrived at some remote corners and started to build their observation tools. That night, they witnessed the mysterious, beautiful scene again. Taking Sky Sword God's domain as the center, countless stars shone and cheered, converging together, forming a bright star sea around Sky Sword God's domain. Some stars that had nearly reached the end of their lives even started to self-destruct of their own initiative, turning into bright lights. The stars are killing themselves. Why? 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 The stars' orbits are changing. So harmonious. So beautiful. The stars are cheering. People exclaimed whilst looking at the stars self-destructing. They didn't even dare to breathe when they saw any star's orbit changing. They shouted and wrangled, then quickly calmed down, waiting for the next change. Only the star saints and astrologers knew the meaning of the change. It exposed a part of the world's nature, and it showed a corner of the eternal truth of the universe. It must be God's heartbeat. A believer kissed his cross and praised the God of light. No. It's the universe's heartbeat. Other people retorted him. Compared to gods, who were only omnipotent in their gods' domains, what was happening now was greater and contained more meanings. Although they knew the stars very well and some of them were so strong that they could even destroy stars as easily as blowing off dust, none of them knew why this fantastic scene was happening in this star region. They didn't know how to explain what was happening in front of them. No theory or rule could explain it. The knowledge they had learned and found in the past wouldn't be any more useful than waste paper in front of this miracle. From 3 days ago, since the stars began to change, all the theories and rules in the past would definitely be rewritten in the future. It didn't matter. They had enough time to record and calculate the meaning of the changes. To them, when they devoted themselves to study the stars, 1,000 years was as short as blinking one of their eyes. Every achievement was worth being written into the annals of history. Undoubtedly, the change of the stars was a phenomena that was worth being written into the annals of history. It would be researched by countless people for thousands of years. All of them hoped that the fantastic phenomena would continue for as long as possible, so that they would have more time to record it. They believed that it was a gift from the great stars. Mayor, is it about time? Yunshi raised his head, gazing at the starry sky. He felt that more and more star wills were gathering around him. It seemed that this time, the star trial would really be unusual. How many people did the stars want to drag in? N. The stars have finished writing rules. Be careful, Master. This time, the dream will be infinitely approaching to the real world. The more creatures in the trial world, the more benefits you can obtain. After all, the stars love you. Mayor sat on Yunshi's shoulder, looking at the starry sky together with him. But Master, you must remember to hide your true identity even in the star trial. The apostle will also appear in your trial. Yunshi forced a smile. The apostle was an 8th-ranked white holy dragon. Oh stars, why would you drag it into my star trial? Your love is really difficult to stand. I will become strong. Yunshi stretched out his hand, opening his 5 fingers, then held his fist. Someday, I will be strong enough to defeat the apostle. Yes. This is it. Master, as long as you can become stronger and stronger, you can finally solve all your problems. At that time, you don't even need to worry about your 4 ex-girlfriends. Mayor had confidence in her master, because her master was the greatest man in the world, the beloved star child. With the star's help, nothing could stop her master. Moreover, her master was trying to become strong. On the 4th day, the 5th day, the 6th day. In the eyes of the star saints and astrologers, the star's change finally reached an end. A transparent ring spread in the star sea, performing a song of stars. On the 7th day, 7 o'clock, Yunshi's mouth was covered by his star elf's lips again. Above the girl's fort, countless starlight turned into fragments floating in the air, shining down on the eye of the storm, which was always covered with some weird power. Even the weird power couldn't stop these star fragments. Why? Is Papa in the neighborhood? Mumu looked at the star fragments with curiosity. She stretched out her small hands, catching several fragments. At that moment, the world's time stopped. No. Time didn't stop. It was because this other world was accelerating incredibly. The stars forced the time velocity in the world it created to accelerate. In order to perform this, hundreds of stars self-destructed into star fragments, raising a small wave in the river of time. Language and cognition, behavior and appearance, soul and body. The stars created a complete world for their beloved child. They even reversed the rules between life and death to create an immortal spark. This was the star's blessing given to Yunshi, the truth about the transformation of the stars. Chapter 145, Water God's World. Under the starry sky, many people were forced to fall into a deep sleep. Star fragments dropped to the ground, dragging the beings on the eye of the storm into the dream, including the beings who hadn't slept or didn't have the physiological function of sleep. This star trial was different from the previous 2 star trials. More precisely, the previous 2 trials were just used to help Yunshi get acquainted with the star trial. It wasn't just a corner of a vast nightmare world, or that had only involved the beings Yunshi was around at that time. This time, the dream the stars created for Yunshi was a real world. For this star trial, hundreds of stars burned themselves of their own initiative. They turned into star fragments, floating in the whole sky sword god's domain. Most of them were just beautiful stardust, only the fragments in the eye of the storm contained the essence of stars. Everything was for one person, their beloved star child, Yunshi. Crack! Crack! Yunshi heard the familiar sound. It was from the burning bonfire. Starting again. After 21 days, the star trial started again. This time, how hard would it be? The stars even dragged the 8th-ranked apostle, the white holy dragon, into Yunshi's star trial. Did they want Yunshi to challenge the dragon now? The dragon could kill him as easily as blowing off dust. Yunshi hoped that he could obtain more good seeds this time. They had better be as good as Hua's seed that could be absorbed by him perfectly and immediately. Yunshi had prepared to die thousands of times in this trial. He opened his eyes. Gee! The scene in front of him was out of his expectation. There was no endless dark forest, nor lifeless old stone towers. The sun was shining brightly. Scarlet clouds floated in the distant sky, the sunlight dyeing them golden, as if they were shy girls that were pulling up their socks. Behind the gold-red clouds, the sun exposed itself. The sunlight shone on the whole world, covering a layer of gold clothes on everything on the ground. Endless white mists rose from the ground, making the world look like a heaven. Under such an environment, the bonfire in front of Yunshi looked so inconsistent with the world. Weapon system. Spoil container. Forge system. After opening the 3 menus, Yunshi finally confirmed that he was in the star trial and not a simple dream with a bonfire. Crane Wing's twin swords were more handy in the trial world. Perhaps it was because Yunshi had obtained their entities in the real world. Looking at Crane Wing's twin sword, Yunshi obtained more information. Crane Wing's twin sword, forged by Ouz the godly craftsman. After thousands of years, they have become a pair of artifacts. Property 1, the higher the holder's talent is, the more powerful the twin swords will be. Property 2, flying crane wings. The twin swords were made of top-class materials. Even a mortal can use it to perform the sword skill, flying sword. Property 3, sword souls. After thousands of years, 2 sword souls were finally born in the twin swords. Only the chosen swordsman can hear their voices and be their master. Additional property, the twin swords can only be used by male. Your current state, have been accepted by the sword souls. You can use them to perform hero-ranked attacks. At the same time, the stars system told him this trial world's information and his final mission. The trial world's name, Water God's Fantasy Island. The world's background, an old fantastical creature named Water God is sleeping under the island. Every 100 years, it will wake up and look for its bride. A lot of Water God's believers have betrayed their god because a sky sword has reached the island and is going to slaughter the god. Your final mission, paired choice. First option, join Water God's camp, help Water God find its bride, and you will receive Water God's reward. Second option, join human camp, become the Sky Sword's partner to slaughter the god, and you will obtain the Sky Sword's reward. Optional side mission 1, girl fights evil dragon. A brave girl is looking for an evil dragon. You can choose this side mission after you join human camp. Optional side mission 2, the Apostle's Call. A great apostle has reached this world. Swear your loyalty to her and become a dragon god subordinate. You can choose this side mission after you join Water God's camp. Optional side mission 3, the Truth of the Mist. The people on the island are living in a world that is surrounded by endless mist. Go find the secret and expose the truth. Optional side mission 4, to love, Starchild. Life is too short, just enjoy it. Propose to as many girls as possible. After obtaining their marriage contracts, you can have the girl's power. You are never alone. Secret mission. It will be exposed after you finish 3 side missions. No. Even though Yunshi had known that the trial wouldn't be easy, but he still gasped after seeing the final mission. He had to defeat the fantastical creature, Water God, if he chooses to join the human camp. Or he has to defeat a Sky Sword, one of the strongest people in the whole Sky Sword God's domain, if he chooses to join Water God's camp. Whatever he chooses, he has to defeat a legend-ranked presence. As for these side missions, Yunshi was speechless. He knew the first side mission, but what the hell were the other 3 missions? Especially the 4th side mission, to love, Starchild. Is it really not a joke? Propose to as many girls as possible to obtain their power. Are the stars encouraging him to be a playboy? Why does this star trial seem so different from the usual? Okay. I will choose the human camp and find Hua Hua as quickly as I can. Yunxi decisively made this decision in a second. He had once done the side mission, Girl Fights Evil Dragon. Perhaps this was the only mission he was familiar with in the trial world. Hua Hua, I will see you soon. With this hope in his heart, Yunxi left the bonfire. Then, he saw a giant eye. Chapter 146, Mask. The eye appeared without warning. Yunxi was sure that this place had nothing a second ago, but after he had left the bonfire, the eye had instantly emerged. The eye looked at Yunxi and his twin swords with curiosity and confusion. Who are you? Where are you from? Where will you go? Why are you here? Yunxi nervously gazed at the giant eye. Sweat dripped from his face. It wasn't a real eye, but formed by countless mist crystals. Tiny crystals of mist reflected colorful lights in the sun, as fantastic as if a dream. The eye's pupil was an engaging dark blue, looking like a very profound gem. It could control the mist in the air so easily. Since the trial world was named Water God's Fantasy Island, Yunxi had already guessed what the eye in front of him was. Water God. It was the fantastic creature sleeping under the island, the strongest, godlike creature in this trial world. What the hell? He had just left the bonfire and then immediately saw the ultimate boss of the world. Yunxi felt desperate. What should he do now? It wasn't even hell mode. It was the nobody survives mode he was facing. Why don't I see my mark in your body? You don't belong to this world. Fortunately, even though it was the world's ultimate boss, Water God looked it was still half awake and half asleep. Its voice sounded deep. The mist crystals resonated, shaking both Yunxi's body and heart. Undoubtedly, it was a legend-ranked creature that wouldn't be inferior to the White Holy Dragon. Its existence itself was enough to change this world's rules. It was like lightning, a storm, a volcano. As a legend-ranked being, it was as miraculous as God. Water God was undoubtedly an ancient creature that was as strong as a god. It was impossible to defeat such a godlike creature. The difference between them was as large as the difference between a drop of water and an entire ocean. Did he still have a chance? Yunxi let out a sigh of relief after he realized that Water God wasn't going to kill him directly. Fortunately, he wouldn't be killed countless times immediately after he left the bonfire. Even though he could revive in the fire, he didn't want to fight against the ancient creature, Water God. The gap between the nature of their lives was too wide. It would be meaningless to repeat such combat. What's your name? Water God gazed at Yunxi with no hostility. On the contrary, Yunxi felt kindness from its tone. Yunxi almost told it his true name. Fortunately, he remembered Mayer's warning at the last second. Yunhai. Finally, Yunxi said a common name in White Lotus Sword Domain. Yunhai the Sword Master was the whole White Lotus Sword Domain's pride. He had once helped White Lotus Sword Domain promote to become a middle-level sword domain, and was one of the founders of White Lotus Sword Palace and a Sky Sword. People in White Lotus Sword Domain often named their children Yunhai, hoping that their children would be as great as Yunhai the Sword Master. Yunhai. What a memorable name, Water God blinked. Ah! Yunxi suddenly realized that as an ancient creature, Water God must have lived a long life. If Water God's true identity was the monster sleeping in the eye of the storm, then it may really have met Yunhai the Sword Master in the past. Besides, the stars told him specifically that a sky sword would appear in his star trial. Would it be Yunhai? So, you are my old friend's descendant. No wonder that I feel a sense of familiarity from you. Just in time, after a month, my world will hold a ceremony. You can be my apostle. I hope that you can help me find the most beautiful and excellent bride for me. Water gods, I turned into a stream of transparent crystals and fell to Yunshi. Yunshi heard a series of system beeps. You have chosen your camp. You have become Water God's apostle. Once you finish choosing your camp, you can't change or betray your camp. Please play as Water God's apostle in this world. The world line has been changed. Please help Water God find the most beautiful bride to complete its wish. Yunshi didn't expect that his lie about his true identity directly made him leave the human camp and become the Water God's apostle. What did this mean? It meant that he could never join the human camp to fight against this world's boss together with Hua Hua, the twin witches, Hua Yu and Xiao Chao. Why? Why can't I challenge the world's strongest boss together with the others? Why did the world's ultimate boss directly find me and select me to become its subordinate? I have lived a long, long life. To be honest, I'm tired. As this world's god, I desire change, even if it means new enemies. My old friend's descendant, can you help me look around the world with your eyes? I want to see what will be changed in this new century. The world may have boundless beauties, but only one love is needed in my life. As a god, I'm looking for a person who can span time and space, becoming my lover. Countless mist crystals converged on Yunshi's face, finally turning into a silver mask, covering Yunshi's face. Hence, I give you my mask. You will become my eyes, my ears, my sword, to look for my bride. With 4 white sharp horns projecting upright from the mask looked like some dragon's mark. Remember, you have my mask, so you can use my power. You will become the Yutaware Ramono. 1. The system beep echoed in Yunshi's mind again. You have been recognized by Water God. You have obtained Water God's mask. After you wear the mask, you will obtain the fake power of King. 1. Yutaware Ramono, the person who is eulogized in poems and songs. Chapter 147, Fake. After Water God's eye disappeared, Yunshi walked to the stream, looking at his reflection in the water in confusion. The silver mask perfectly covered his face, and only his eyes and mouth were exposed. No one would know Yunshi's true appearance through the mask. For silver horns stood on his forehead with old, mysterious rune words engraved on them. Yunshi had just worn the mask, but it already made him look 10 years older. He looked like a middle-aged adult, revealing traces of the passing of life on his appearance. The most amazing thing was that Yunshi couldn't feel the existence of the mask, as if it was a natural part of his body. What is it? Yunshi touched the silver mask, feeling it was cold and smooth. Yunshi's fingertip caressed the edge of the mask. He could clearly feel the power inside it, a power that was far beyond his imagination. The star system automatically showed the mask's information. Water God's mask, an artifact that contains God's power. Special Property 1, Water God's blessing. It is a crystal transformed from a sleeping fantastic creature's blood, having incredible power. Special Property 2, Fake Mask. The person who wears the mask will become Water God's apostle. Hidden Property. The mask contains some secret. You need to discover it by yourself. God's artifact. Looking at his own reflection in the water, Yunshi felt something unusual from the description. Was this middle-aged man really him? Why did he see wisdom and vicissitudes in his own eyes? It apparently didn't belong to him, but it wasn't fake. He really felt traces of life inside his pupils. He couldn't even recognize himself now. Crane Wing's twin swords, come back. Yunshi put the twin swords back in his weapon system. Now, nothing would expose his true identity. From now on, he was Water God's apostle. This isn't just a joke. Where can I find a bride to satisfy water god? There isn't even a standard. Yunshi sat down under the tree beside the stream with gloom. Compared to this tough mission, he preferred to fight against the green hippo again, feeling the meaning of his life through blood and death. This world was too different compared to the previous two worlds. On the island, he could only see bright sunlight and vibrant forests. Both the world's size and complexity were far beyond the previous two dark worlds. No wonder that the stars needed such a long time to create this world. This time, the star trial was too complicated. No, I shouldn't give up now. Since this is a trail world, there must be some method to solve my problem. Yunshi calmly analyzed. First, the two camps in this world. Yunshi drew two circles on the ground under the tree. The first circle represented Water God's camp, although he only saw Water God's eye and confirmed its existence just now. It seemed that Water God was still sleeping. Only a part of its consciousness had woken up. Therefore, Yunshi could move freely now. It was no doubt that Water God was the strongest ultimate boss in this trial world, and according to what Yunshi knew, its true identity was the monster sleeping in the eye of the storm. The second circle represented the camp which Yunshi had planned to join at first, the human camp. Its leader was a sky sword. Yunshi didn't know who the sky sword was, but he knew that the sky sword was going to slaughter Water God. Sky Sword was the strongest title in Sky Sword God's domain. From the beginning of the history of Sky Sword God's domain, only a dozen people had the honor to obtain this title. Each of them was a legendary hero. Yunshi didn't know who this Sky Sword was, but it would be a matchless swordsman that could even slaughter a god. Hua Hua, White Lotus, Red Lotus, and the Starwings Knights girls undoubtedly belonged to human camp. In this case, he would be their enemy. This was the worst situation Yunshi could imagine. It seemed that it was hard to say which camp was stronger, because both the Sky Sword and Water God were undoubtedly super strong. However, there was a variable. The Apostle, White Holy Dragon. Yunshi drew the third circle on the ground. The third circle was close to the circle represented by Water God's camp, because it was a dragon from his ex-girlfriend's camp. It was very likely to help Water God. Besides, the optional mission 3, the Apostle's Call, had clearly told him that the Apostle was naturally biased to Water God's camp. If so, then it would become a huge variable, a counterweight that would finally change the balance between the two camps. As an 8th-ranked creature, once the White Holy Dragon chose to help one camp, then the other camp would be defeated quickly and unquestionably. However, will it really be that simple? Yunshi didn't think so. The stars wouldn't let his trial be so easy. After all, this was the first time that he had to choose a camp, had 4 side missions, and a hidden mission. Besides, the Water God didn't play by the rules. It instantly found Yunshi and chose him as its apostle after Yunshi left the bonfire. Everything implied that this wasn't a simple world. The most doubtful point was, why was this world so real? Yunshi uncovered the soil beside the stream. Several earthworms wriggled and slowly moved away from Yunshi's hands. Several small crabs were scared and immediately escaped into the stream. No, something was wrong. This world was so real that it couldn't be called a dream. This was just one of his star trials. Was it really necessary to create such a perfect world? Chapter 148, Water Mist. The dark forest in the newbie trial and the tall tower in the formal trial were two different worlds, but had the same style, igniting a bonfire in the lifeless, dark world, as if a nightmare had become reality. However, Water God's world was beautiful, bright, and picturesque. Am I really in my star trial? Or I have been transported to another world? Yunshi smelt the soil in his hand in confusion. Even though Mayer had told him that this time the trial would be as authentic as the real world, only till he really entered the trial world did he finally understand how real it was. Roar! Yunshi heard a frightening sound. Finally, the enemy comes. The familiar sense of danger made Yunshi return from his pondering. Yes. No matter what this world was, his goal wouldn't change. He must become stronger and stronger, otherwise, he would be caught by his ex-girlfriends and fall into misfortune forever. Let me try this weapon. Yunshi took out his indecomposable, unbreakable, newbie sword, preparing to fight. He must finish the water god's quest. He must become stronger. Swoosh! Swoosh! Yunshi smelt a frightening ascent in the wind. He knew that a huge creature was approaching from a distance. Come on! Yunshi walked to the place where the frightening scent came from. Roar! With an earth-shaking roar, a white tiger that was 10 meters long appeared. Its abnormal red eyes stared at Yunshi, then it instantly pounced at Yunshi. It leapt through dozens of meters. Its large paws broke the wind, even leaving green tracks in the air. It was a kind of super ability. It was a hero-ranked monster. Undoubtedly, it was at the same level as the fiery male dragon. It was a monster that had transcended the limit of flesh and blood. However, Yunshi wasn't as terrified as he had been when he first saw the fiery male dragon. He did feel a bit of a sense of pressure, but held no fear facing the tiger. Was it due to Water God's mask? Yunshi could feel the fantastic power inside the silver mask. A refreshing feeling was released from the mask, comforting Yunshi's heart, making him keep calm even in such a critical situation. Transparent mist surrounded Yunshi, making his skin as flawless as dewdrop. This was a blessing from the water god, a power from a god. His iron sword was also covered with a veil of mist, becoming sharper and colder. Flying swallow! Yunshi leapt up, facing the giant white tiger with no fear. In the air, Yunshi's body was more nimble than the giant tiger. In an instant, he had attacked the white tiger 16 times, exposing the frightening air combat capability of his flying sword. However, it wasn't as effective as Yunshi had expected. Roar! The white tiger fell to the ground. It trembled and a few bundles of fur fell off. What a sturdy body! Yunshi looked at his iron sword. He had hewn the white tiger 16 times, but hadn't even left a scar on its body. Hiss! The white tiger became fiercer after landing on the ground. Its bloody eyes stared at Yunshi with killing intent. Not bad. Taste my sword. Yunshi knew it was a hero-ranked monster, but it didn't scare him and instead made him feel more excited. It was a pleasurable feeling from the bottom of his heart, as if it was a very comfortable thing to fight against the white tiger. Roar! The white tiger lowered its body. Its body was surrounded with countless green lights. It was the white tiger's supernatural power, Wind Blade. Compared to human beings that had to obtain magic or sword skills through study, hero-ranked creatures could naturally inherit super abilities through their bloodlines. The white tiger not only had almost invulnerable fur, but was also a natural controller of wind. Hiss! Its large paw broke the wind, leaving 3 green traces in the air. Not bad. Yunshi brandished his sword 3 times, dispelling the 3 green traces in the air. He felt it. He felt the difference after he wearing Water God's mask. Super ability. He had a real super ability now, blending in his body and bloodline. Water Mist. This was the name of the super ability he had obtained from Water God's mask. After acquiring this power, Yunshi could fight against hero-ranked beings now. Water God's apostle wasn't just a title. He was really blessed by the Water God. Ice Blade. Yunshi understood naturally how to control the mist to form ice blades in the air. A row of sharp, silver ice blades instantly pierced through the soil, piercing through the white tiger's belly. The first ice blade was only a meter long, but the last ice blade was 3 meters long. If it wasn't the white tiger but a human instead, it would have been cut open. However, the white tiger was stunned for just a few seconds. Just like the flying swallow Yunshi performed before, the ice blades weren't able to break its defense too. Unbelievable. Is this the third rank? Of course, Yunshi was still a mortal, but after wearing Water God's mask, he could see the world through the eyes of hero-ranked beings. He was Water God's apostle, so his hero-ranked super ability was Water Mist. The limitless water mist on the island was like a part of his body. Every time he breathed, he could absorb a lot of water mist into his body, then turn it into shapes he imagined and controlled them to fight. The water blade on his sword. The healing mist on his skin. And the ice blades he controlled just now. He had transcended the limits of his body and naturally knew how to control the power between the sky and the ground. He had temporarily reached hero rank. He was at the 4th rank now. Chapter 149, Familiar Person Ice Blade. Ice Blade. Ice Blade. Yunshi acted like a child who had just obtained a new toy. He played with the fierce white tiger, ignoring that it could kill him 1,000 times over if its paws touched him. Water God's blessing was far beyond Yunshi's imagination. He gradually understood the secrets of hero rank in the battle, especially the ice blade transformed from mist. They seemed to be very good fit for his body, and soon after, they had become the skill he knew best. Ice blade. Burst. Thousands of ice blades exploded at the same time. Countless fragments of ice crystals flew towards the fierce white tiger, interweaving into a vast net in the air. It was a net that could bring death. Trees, rocks, and soil, everything was as fragile as a piece of paper in front of the sharp fragments of ice crystal. They were torn to shreds immediately, and soon afterwards, the shreds were torn to dust in the face of more ice crystal fragments, till they turned into imperceptible particles and vanished into the air. Roar! The white tiger was seriously injured. Its 2 paws covered its head, lying on its stomach in front of Yunshi. Hoo! It acted as if it wasn't a bloodthirsty monster but an aggrieved puppy. Okay, stop pretending. I know you are okay. Yunshi was satisfied with the ice blade's effect, but he knew that they wouldn't damage the white tiger so much. The white tiger acted like it had come to its senses and realized something. Roar! As Yunshi had expected, the white tiger raised its head. Its pupils had turned from red to black. The white tiger carefully walked to Yunshi after realizing that Yunshi wasn't going to attack it. It bent down on its forepaws and licked Yunshi's feet, then rolled on the ground and exposed its belly, showing that it was not hostile anymore. Smart tiger. Yunshi stroked the white tiger's head. He had known that there was something wrong with the white tiger from the beginning. Perhaps it was because of the water god's mask. He vaguely knew about all the living beings on the island. The giant white tiger was a natural king in the forest. It had an invulnerable body and could control the wind. This was Water God's world and naturally, the white tiger was one of Water God's subordinates. However, it had suddenly lost its sanity recently and became a bloodthirsty monster. If Yunshi hadn't become Water God's apostle and had the hero-ranked ability, Water Mist, probably he would have been eaten by the furious white tiger. Roar! Roar! The white tiger licked Yunshi's face, acting as if it was a puppy. Then, it picked Yunshi's sleeve and dragged him, trying to guide him to some place. Where are you going? Yunshi sensitively felt the white tiger's intention. Roar! Roar! The white tiger wagged its tail and picked up Yunshi to put him on its back, then ran at full speed. Is it a very important place to you? It has something to do with your change. Is there something wrong at that place? Based on his intuition, Yunshi asked the white tiger and got its affirmation. Roar! 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 As a hero-ranked creature, its intelligence wasn't inferior to ordinary humans. Yunshi carefully made out the meaning of its roar. Danger. Blood. Strange person. Yunshi understood. The white tiger encountered a strange person before. They had a tough fight, but there was no winner. Both of them had suffered great losses. The white tiger lost its sanity and the strange person was dying. Strange person, Yunshi guessed that it was an outsider who was involved in his trial world by the stars. However, there was no victor in the strife between the strange person and the white tiger, which meant, probably the person wasn't one of the Starwings Knight's girls, nor was it Hua Hua or the twin witches. Was it a passenger from White Lotus? Or... Yunshi rode on the white tiger's back in deep thought. They tramped over a dozen of mountains, finally reaching the white tiger's den. It must have been a fierce fight. The ground looked as if it had experienced a typhoon, covered with countless crushed stones and dozens of melted holes in the ground. A tall man was lying down on the ground in front of the white tiger's den. The blood under his body had dyed the ground around him red. It was apparent that there was two types of blood on the ground. Through his mask, Yunshi could see that one contained fierce blood power and the other one contained a mysterious magical power. You are... Yunshi looked at the man in surprise. The man wasn't a stranger to him, because he was the archer in red in his second star trial, who had stopped Yunshi on the bridge countless times. More than once, his arrows had cut through Yunshi's head and heart. Much more often, the archer just shot him through his hands and feet, stopping him from escaping from the stone soldier's attacks. He had even been killed by the archer's twin double knives once. In the second star trial, the archer in red had almost become a psychological shadow in Yunshi's heart. And judging from the evaluation of the stars, the archer in red did have the highest potential amongst the 4 strongest enemies in Yunshi's second star trial. The 3 childs were no match for him. He was a real genius that had the potential to reach the hero rank. If Yunshi hadn't kissed his childhood sweetheart Hua Hua to raise the complete degree of Hua Hua seed, Yunshi didn't know how many times he would have been killed by the archer. It looked that the mysterious archer had also become stronger after the trial. After all, he could end the battle between him and the white tiger in a draw now. Yunshi wasn't sure if he could do this if he took off Water God's mask. Chapter 150, The Second Apostle. He was injured seriously. Yunshi lowered his head and touched the archer in red's back. Blood stained his fingers. His water mist wasn't omnipotent. It could heal wounds but couldn't save a dying person. The archer in red was alive only because he had strong will to live, so that he could persist till this moment. Looking at his deep wounds and the messy ground, Yunshi could barely imagine the violent battle between the archer in red and the white tiger. Roar! The white tiger raised its paw, preparing to kill the strange man who inexplicably came to its den and fought with it. At that time, the white tiger smelt no scent of the familiar humans on Water God's island from the archer in red, so it attacked the archer with no worry. It just didn't expect that both of them would be injured so seriously in the fight. If it hadn't met Yunshi, it would probably be still crazy. If it had hurt the humans on the island who often came to offer its sacrifices, the consequences would be too ghastly to contemplate. After all, as the water god's subordinate, if it slaughtered the god's people, it would definitely be punished by the god. Fortunately, Yunshi saved it from that terrible misfortune. Now, the white tiger only wanted to eat the chief criminal who had made it go berserk. Anyway, it wasn't a human. It's okay to eat the chief criminal, right? No. Little Moo, you can't eat him. You don't need to eat humans to fill your belly, right? Yunshi knocked the white tiger's head and gave it a nickname, Little Moo. Okay, Yunshi admitted that he missed Moo Moo now. Upon remembering that he had joined Water God's camp and had to make enemies with the human camp, Yunshi couldn't stop sighing. Cough. G.A. The archer in red coughed and twitched on the ground, then gradually opened her eyes. Even though her eyes looked blank and dazed, but the will in her eyes still made Yunshi feel surprised. An archer must have an iron will. No matter how serious he is hurt or attacked, he never gives up, and he never steps back. To the things he insisted on, he would fight till the last moment. Even if he died on the battlefield, he wouldn't topple down. If the human will can create miracle, then it must include him. Trace, on, he struggled, trying to release his secret skill. No, I can't die here. I must survive. I can't give up, because I still have a mission to finish. An archer doesn't die with her hands bare. A large amount of mist suddenly surrounded them, forming a familiar shape. Countless ice crystals reflected sunlight, reflecting a deep blue inside his pupil. I didn't expect to see this cursed bloodline again. Answer my question and make your choice. Tell me, who are you? Where are you from? Where are you going? Why are you here? The archer in red froze. His body slightly trembled in front of Water God's eye. I'm Yun Quebec. I come from the distant Western God's domain. I came here for my mission. Yun K, Skylark, her name was fake, and her identity was fake, but it was necessary. Yun K was her title in the organization, but it was also the name of one of the strongest people in 10 Leaves Alliance. Yun K was a woman who got entangled with Yun Hai the Sword Master, and her most favorite heroine. Haha, Yun Hai, Yun K, good names. I see. This must be fate. Water God's eye gazed at the archer in red meaningfully. Very well. You made your choice, and I miss this name too. He is Yun Hai and you are Yun K, then I will let you become my apostle too. Accept my blessing and put on my mask, to satisfy my desire. Countless fragments of ice crystals dropped from the sky, forming a mask in the archer in red's hands. Hundreds of years have passed, I'm eager to see the world's changes, I have longed to marry the most beautiful bride. It was different from Yunshi's mask. It was as red as the archer's clothes, as red as blood. Yun Hai, Yun K, go. Go look for the most excellent bride for me. At the top of the mask, a sharp red horn pointed upwards. Although the archer's mask had only one horn, but the horn on his mask was 3 times longer than Yunshi's silver horn. After obtaining the red mask, Yun K's blood started flowing backwards. Not only the blood that stained her clothes, but also the blood on the ground had also flowed backwards into her body. My blood flows on the ground and into the sea, tinting the whole world red. Yun K touched the mask, then naturally understood how to use the power inside his mask. It was a power named blood. After putting on the mask, she had obtained her hero-ranked ability to control blood. Unlike Yunshi's water mist, Yun K's mask was biased towards strengthening herself. As long as her head, especially the part she wore the mask on, hadn't been destroyed, she wouldn't be killed. Even if her bones were broken or her heart had been torn up, she could be restored to normal by using her blood. If she went a step further, she could even reform her bones and nerve system, strengthening her physique to an inconceivable extent. The sword is her body and fire is her blood. This was her road, a road named Lonely Hero. The mask had granted her the real hero-ranked power. Undoubtedly, it was a power that belonged to God. Water God, Yun K raised her head, looking at the Water God's eye in confusion. Why did the good treat her so well? The god should have detected her inept lie and disguise. She didn't think that her secret skill could cheat a god. Chapter 151, Water Gods People, the world needs to be changed, and you are the people who will bring those changes. So, look for the most beautiful bride for me. This is your only quest, and I don't need any other gifts. If you find the most beautiful bride, I will give you my greatest blessing. Water gods, I disappeared in the air after saying these words. Only Yun-shi and the archer stayed where they were, looking at each other. Yun-kei, what a nice name. Yun-shi didn't know the meaning of the name in 10 Leaves Alliance and the story about love and hate between Yun-hai and Yun-Quebec. Your name is Yun-hai. That Yun-hai. Yun-kei frowned after noticing Yun-shi's pseudonym. Was it a coincidence? She did know that there were many people named Yun-hai in Sky Sword God's domain. However, Water God chose Yun-hai and Yun-kei as its apostles at the same time. What did this mean? Can you tell me where this place is and why I am here? Since she had accepted her new identity, then she must get the situation under her control. Obtaining the greatest achievement with the minimum price. This was always her life creed. This is a world named Water God's Fantastic Island. We have been chosen by the Water God, and have to accomplish Water God's quest as its apostles. Yun-shi tried to use the most simple words to describe the situation. Then what is the difficulty? The people on the island should have offered their most beautiful girls to their god willingly. Why didn't they do this? Yun-kei seized the key problem from Yun-shi's words. Water God was a god, a legendary creature. No matter which god's domain it was, it deserved to be accorded the highest level of reception. It was too easy to a legend-ranked being to have a bride. If Yun-hai wasn't wrong, this was Water God's fantastic island, then it should be the only god of the people on the island. How dare they disobey their god? In fact, a sky sword has come to the island and is going to slaughter Water God, Yun-shi said awkwardly. After all, he should have originally belonged to human camp at first. Sky Sword. Who is this Sky Sword? Yun-kei's pupils contracted. That's right. No pay, no gain. She obtained the power, then she must use the equivalent effort to pay for it. This corresponds with her understanding about the world's rules. Since Water God's mask gave her the hero-ranked power, then it was logical to fight against the Sky Sword for it, even she knew that the Sky Sword must be super strong. She just hadn't known who the Sky Sword was. After all, there were a dozen Sky Swords in Sky Sword God's domain. Although they were all Sky Sword, but naturally, some of them were stronger. Theoretically, all Sky Swords were at the same level, but people still ranked them according to their legends and combat records. The top 3 Sky Swords were far beyond other Sky Swords. If the Sky Sword was one of the top 3 Sky Sword, they could just give up and surrender to the Sky Sword, because the 3 Sky Sword were titled as deicide. They really had killed gods. They were the reason why Sky Sword God's domain was one of the strongest God's domains in Eastern God's domain. As a member of 10 Leaves Alliance, of course she knew that they were invincible. I don't know, but I think that the Sky Sword should be very strong. Yun-shi knew nothing about the mysterious Sky Sword. No one knew the exact number of Sky Swords. Except for the 3 Sky Swords in Dezhou Sword Domain, Dahan Sword Domain, and Datang Sword Domain, other Sky Swords didn't always stay in Sky Sword God's domain. Some of them had even disappeared for thousands of years. Yun-shi had no clue to figure out who the Sky Sword in Water God's world was. In that case, we should go to investigate it. First of all, we should grasp the situation. Since we are Water God's apostles now, we should do our best to finish the quest. Please treat this quest seriously. Yun-kei was more stubborn than Yun-shi had imagined and had amazing enthusiasm. Quickly, they had ridden on the white tiger's back, coming to a small village nearby the forest. To the peaceful small village, the white tigers coming got the whole village astir. It's Mountain Lord. Is Mountain Lord angry? Be quick, be quick. Prepare sacrifices for Mountain Lord. Soon afterwards, people respectfully carried a farm cow as the sacrifice, walking to the white tiger. Roar! The white tiger triumphantly raised its paw to frighten the villagers, scaring them out of their guts. Stop, little moo. Yunshi patted the white tiger's head. Roar! The white tiger felt wronged. It slouched down, showing Yunshi and Yunkei on its back to the villagers. What? There are two people on Mountain Lord's back. Impossible. Mountain Lord only follows Water God's command. How can it allow any human to sit on its back? Can it be? The villagers lived in the small village from generation to generation. Sometimes, the white tiger would come to eat sacrifices, and it was the greatest creature the villagers could see. They didn't believe their eyes looking at this scene. Most of the people immediately bated their breaths when they saw Yunshi and Yunkei on the white tiger's back. We are Water God's apostles. Are you Water God's people? Plop. 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 The villagers finally realized who they just saw. They dropped to their knees one after another with tears coursing down their rough cheeks. Welcome, Water God's apostles. Welcome to our village. Praise the great Water God. My life already has no regrets now. Long live Mountain Lord. Thank you for bringing the Water God's apostles for us. Chapter 152, Lulu, very well. At least, Water God is still worshipped in this village. Yunkei let out a sigh of relief. After knowing that a sky sword had come to this world, she was worried that the situation had become hopeless. Judging from the situation in the village, she knew that she had been overly worried unnecessarily. At least the ordinary people in this world still thought that Water God was their only god. She could see incomparable, pure godliness in these villagers' eyes. They hadn't betrayed their god. Even though the village was just a corner of this whole world, she could tell that Water God hadn't alienated its people by being unsympathetic to them. People didn't think that their god was an evil god. This was a critical point for them to finish their quest of looking for the most beautiful bride for Water God. We need to rest a while in the village. Excuse me for bothering you. Yunkei started to carry out her plan. The white tiger's identity was exalted than she had imagined. She had planned to apply its identity in a flexible way. Don't say that. It's our honor to serve you, Water God's apostles. Be quick. Go prepare food. And you, go pick flowers. This cattle. Kill it and cook it now. The coming of the two apostles was obviously a memorable story for the ordinary small village. All the villagers were fanatical, and this fact made Yunkei feel very satisfied. After that, Yunkei rested in the village head's house and found the general records of the village there. She spent the whole night remembering the history, population, land, and the number of livestock of the village. Of course, she paid most attention to the girls that were of the right age in the village. In this world, age for marriage is from 12 years old to 24 years old. But Water God is a legend-ranked being, it should not mind the age of its bride. In that case, I should liberalize the age range. The bride should be a pure girl but not a married woman, so the proper objective in the village is, Yunkei recorded and made her plan. She had almost forgotten that there was another apostle who had the same mission. But it didn't matter. She had been used to it from a long time ago. An archer normally performed tasks alone. Moreover, she was a phantom archer who had the dark elf bloodline. It was normal for her to go her own way without any help. Her bloodline was cursed and despised, so she didn't trust anyone from a long time ago, and so she disguised herself. With the blood power the Water God's mask granted her, her disguise had become more flawless. As long as there wouldn't be another godlike being, no one would find out that he was a she, not to mention her dark elf bloodline. As Yun-Kei read up the village records, Yun-Shi was walking around the village. The white tiger, who was 3 meters tall and 10 meters long, was following behind him, acting like a kitten. Yun-Kei was also a water god's apostle, but it preferred staying with Yun-Shi. Little Moo is a nice name. The white tiger thought and licked its paws, accepting its new name with a quiet conscience. Hello, Yun-Shi stopped. He looked at a girl who was drying medicinal herbs in the sun. The girl was about 16 years old. Somehow, she had a pair of animal ears on her head, which looked pretty like a puppy's ears. Her face was comely and her eyes were timid and gentle. She blushed after seeing Yun-Shi, which made her look even cuter. If Yun-Kei was here, she could state her name, identity, and family tree precisely. But Yun-Shi knew nothing about her. He just felt that she was pretty cute. Tempting heart doesn't need a reason, does it? However, Yun-Shi felt bewildered because she looked like a girl in his Star Wings Nights. If she didn't have the 2 animal ears on her head, then he would have said that she was that girl. Do you know me? Yun-Shi walked to the girl and asked. Yes. You are the great water god's apostle. The girl lowered her head and didn't dare to look at Yun-Shi's eyes. Not her. They just had the same face. Yun-Shi looked at the familiar but also unknown girl. He remembered that the Star Wings Nights girl was called Lulu. She was an introverted girl. Somehow, she lost her memory after coming to this world and thought that she was a native girl in the village. The changes that had happened to the girl weren't just her animal ears. Yun-Shi could smell the scent of herbs from her fingers and he noticed the green potions beside the girl. Are you a pharmacist? Yun-Shi reached out his finger, touched a few of the potions and tasted one. The faint scent in his mouth and the cold feeling spreading in his body told Yun-Shi that it was a great potion. Yun-Shi even thought that she was the best pharmacist he had ever seen. If anyone in the village could be the water god's bride, then she must be the best qualified one. This girl's information looks good. She has a hope. At the same time, Yun-Kei also noticed Lulu amongst all the villagers' names. She was only 16 years old but already a talented pharmacist. She was like a crane standing among chickens in the ordinary village. If possible, can you give me a bundle of Mountain Lord's hair? Lulu didn't know the reason, but she naturally felt intimacy from the exalted water god's apostle. Why? Even though the apostle was wearing a mask, but when she looked at him, she felt that she should be intimate with him. Her heart was beating fast, as if there were butterflies in her stomach. Chapter 153, Tiger's Power. Little Moo, give me some of your hair. Yun-Shi turned back and caught the white tiger's ear, stopping it from running away. Oh! The white tiger sobbed. It reluctantly lowered down its body to let Yun-Shi pluck its precious hair. Ho-ho! It had been the Mountain Lord for so many years. It had never thought that it would be plucked someday. Good boy. Good little Moo. Yun-Shi praised the white tiger and stroked its head. Oh! The white tiger immediately wagged its tail excitedly. You want some of my hair? Take as much as you can. It raised its paw and plucked off dozens of its hairs with its mouth, then picked them to Yun-Shi. Good boy. Although Little Moo was 10 times bigger than Yun-Shi, Yun-Shi still felt that it was just an innocent child in his mind. In some sense, its character was really similar to Moo Moo. As long as you treated it nicely, it would totally open its mind to you. Thank you, your great apostle. Lulu made a stealthy glance at Yun-Shi's mask, then joyfully took out various herbs from her room. In the legends, the Mountain Lord's hair contained a special power. Its white hair could be used to make a potion that could greatly increase the drinker's strength. As the sole pharmacist in the village, Lulu was only a step away from becoming a third-ranked pharmacist. As long as she could make the potion called Tiger's Power, she could register her name in the city as a third-ranked pharmacist. If so, she could wear a third-ranked white leaf emblem on her chest, and the ordinary village would also have its special local product. To her, it was already one of her most luxurious dreams. However, it was hard to obtain even a hair from the Mountain Lord. As a hero-ranked animal, its hair would never fall off naturally. In that case, Tiger's Power had become a watershed to divide the pharmacists in Water God's world. It was said that one needed to pay a great price to obtain a white tiger's hair from the priests in the city. Naturally, the small village didn't have that much money. There are too many. After obtaining the white tiger's hairs, Lulu finally realized what a great amount of power there was in the strands of hair. Her hand was stung even though she just touched the hairs lightly. Water God's apostle was too great. He could order the strong Mountain Lord to offer its hairs so easily. Don't worry. Little Moo still has a lot of hair. Yunshi looked at Lulu kindly. In the outside world, she was just an ordinary female swordsman, but after becoming a pharmacist in this world, her talent was greatly released. It seemed that her hidden talent was finally blooming in this world. Yunshi could feel her natural talent from her skilled actions when she made the potion. Obviously, she was more worthy to be a pharmacist than to be a swordsman, but her sword skill talent was also good. As a civilian, she didn't have much choice in the outside world, because in Sky Sword God's domain, sword is the most excellent thing. Parents would do their best to support their child to learn sword skills rather than anything. Apparently, no one discovered Lulu's talent as a pharmacist till she came to this world. No. That's enough. Lulu waved her hands. Mountain Lord's hair was very valuable. Even if the apostle said, okay, she didn't dare to ask for more. After all, Lulu wasn't a greedy girl. A few strands of hair were sufficient. Lulu, don't worry. You can do whatever you like. Yunshi looked at Lulu with curiosity, because she was so different from her past appearance in Yunshi's mind. Girls were really a mysterious presence. Even though they were linked through the seeds, he still didn't know what she was thinking. If he was still May, perhaps he wouldn't see Lulu's shy look. Lulu lost her past memories and became a native in Water God's world. However, she also exposed something she tried to hide in the outside world. Perhaps it was because this was just a dream world. In dreams, people always truly express themselves. Thank you. Lulu forced herself to focus on pounding medicine in the mortar. Her actions were light and nimble, just like her sword skill, containing a special talent. Yunshi remembered her performance in the past and finally confirmed that this was her talent. Maybe other girls had also awakened their hidden talents in this world. Paw. 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 As Lulu pounded the medicine, the white tiger's strands of hair started to melt in the water mixed with various of herbs. Milky white liquid deposit in the mortar. Lulu had used up almost all the herbs she had collected, then made a bowl of the potion, Tiger's Power. You're great apostle, do you want to have a try? It isn't effective on hero-ranked people like you, but it tastes good. Lulu nervously looked at Yunshi. In order to prove that the potion was harmless, she licked it with her small tongue. Yunshi blushed looking at the white liquid on the corner of the girl's mouth. Then, he took over the bowl and took a sip. Ah! Yunshi suddenly realized that his mouth just touched the place where the girl's lips touched the bowl. Was it a coincidence? Was it an indirect kiss? Gee! Hoa! Lulu also realized it. Her face blushed like a ripe apple. Chapter 154, Lulu's Sadness. Was my behavior too disrespectful? I actually did such a discourteous thing to Water God's apostle. Hoa. Too shameful. I feel like dying. Lulu lowered her head for fear of seeing Yunshi's face. What a failure. Her joy of making the tiger's power potion had almost all gone. It tastes good. Yunshi looked at Lulu with a smile. He took another sip of the milky white potion again. The potion wasn't bitter at all. On the contrary, it contained a faint scent of herbs and just melted in his mouth. Unlike what Lulu just thought, the potion was effective on Yunshi, because essentially, he was still immortal. He felt his stomach warm up after taking a sip. He felt his body become energetic. His strength had been permanently increased. He could now lift things which were 80 pounds heavier than before. Don't disdain this improvement, because the human body had its limit. Maybe a person could only lift a 100-pound dumbbell, but after exercising for a few months the person could lift a 200 pounds dumbbell. However, when the person gradually reaches the limit of their body, even the slightest improvement needed the hardest exercise. A sip of the tiger's power potion could permanently increase a person's strength. Even though due to drug resistance its effect would become more and more weaker, it was still a wonder potion to most ordinary swordsmen. At least, Yunshi had never seen any similar potion being sold in the small village he was born in. Thinking about it again, it was natural that he wouldn't have seen such a fantastic potion before. After all, the potion needed the hero-ranked white tiger's strands of fur as a kind of material. How could ordinary people find so many hero-ranked animals in the outside world? None of the forces in the world had successfully cultured hero-ranked units in quantity. Even though Water God was super strong, it could only gift its power to its apostles, to let them obtain hero-ranked powers temporarily. In contrast, the tiger's power potion was more valuable. As a girl who could make the potion, Lulu was unique even within the Starwings Night. According to Yunshi's understanding about the Star Trial, after he successfully finished this trial, Lulu could also reap some generous benefits. If there wasn't any incident, Lulu would become the first pharmacist in his Starwings Night. Did I succeed? Lulu was confident of the potion she made, but she still felt nervous before Yunshi gave her a positive answer. No, perhaps it wasn't due to nervousness. Yes. Yunshi said. This was the first high-level potion he had ever drunk. Yeah. Lulu clenched her fists with a big smile on her face. Her effort and preparation finally had a perfect result. After she presented the tiger's power potion to the temple in the city, she would be entitled to wear the third-ranked white leaves emblem. The small village would have its first third-ranked pharmacist. You deserve it. Congratulations. Yunshi didn't understand why the potion was so important to Lulu, but he still felt glad to see her pleased expression because now, Lulu's innocent, cute face was more attractive than before. If it was her, maybe she could be Water God's bride. This idea kept lingering in Yunshi's heart. However, Yunshi still hesitated if he should do that, even though this was his ultimate quest in Water God's world. Very good. Long time no see, tiger's power. She is a third-ranked pharmacist now. Yunshi didn't know since when Yunkei had stood beside him looking at Lulu with a satisfied smile. After all, Lulu was the most excellent girl in this ordinary, small village. Her parents had died when they went into the mountains to gather herbs, but she had great talent as a pharmacist so she could live alone. Now, she had even waded across the barrier that stopped most of people in the world from reaching the third rank. Wherever she was very excellent. Such a girl can be Water God's bride. Yunhai, write down her name. Perhaps she can be Water God's bride. Yunkei didn't hide her intention. In her eyes, since the villagers in this small village still believed in Water God, then they wouldn't refuse such an honorable thing. Water God's bride. Suddenly, the bowl in Lulu's hands fell on the ground and the milky white potion inside the bowl scattered all over the ground. Lulu looked sad and helpless, which deeply touched Yunxi's heart. Yunke, stop. He stopped Yunke, and shook his head. Why, me? Lulu gazed at them with empty eyes. Pearl-like tears dripped down from her eyes like two waterfalls. Is it really so sad to be Water God's bride? Yunxi wanted to know her reason. No, but, Lulu forced a smile and said, in the past, none of Water God's brides had ever returned. To be Water God's bride means that I will leave this world forever. Yunxi was shocked. He understood. Lulu believed in Water God, but she also loved the village. She didn't want to leave the village and the people she knew. God's order is absolute, but people's hearts are complex. To be Water God's bride was a great event to the people in the world, but to the girls who would be married to Water God, it simply meant that they had to leave their home and family forever. Therefore, Lulu looked so depressed and even hopeless. A strange idea arose in Yunxi's heart. As if there was something inducing him, Yunxi remembered his fourth side quest. To love, Starchild. Life is too short, just enjoy it. Propose to as many girls as possible. After obtaining their marriage contracts, you can have the girl's power. You are never alone. He remembered that this was a quest without restricting time and camp. Lulu, if you don't want to marry Water God, how about marrying me? Chapter 155, Proposal. If you don't want to marry Water God, how about marrying me? Mumu was shocked. Did she get something wrong? What did the respectful apostle just say? He is proposing her. Gee. Hoa. What's wrong with the world? Why would Water God's apostle propose her? Oh, don't force yourself. You can say no. I don't mind. This is just a temporary method to help you. I think that if you agree to be my fiancé, then you won't need to leave the village and marry Water God. Yes, proposing to Lulu was the solution Yunxi gave. It looked as if Yunxi was just acting on impulse, but it was the best choice. If Lulu agreed to be his fiancée, then she wouldn't be chosen as a candidate bride for Water God. Besides, Yunxi could also obtain her power in this way. Anyway, it was just a promise and not a real marriage. It should be okay. After the star trial finished, she would only remember that she had a vague dream, just like Hua Hua. If Hua Hua remembered what he had done in his newbie trial on the first formal trial, she would go crazy. Well, you don't remember it, but I can tell you that we are not strangers. Looking at Lulu's puzzled face, Yunxi decided to reveal some bits of information to her. Really? Do you also have this feeling? Lulu looked at Yunxi happily and surprised. She wasn't the only person who had the feeling. When she had just seen Yunxi, she didn't know the reason, but she couldn't stop her heart from beating fast. She didn't often make medicine at the door, but today, she had suddenly felt that she should do this, as if she was waiting for a fateful encounter. In fact, me too, she said nervously, but still told Yunxi her feelings. I have a feeling that we had met before since I first saw you. If reincarnation is real, we must have known each other in our previous lives. No, there weren't any previous lives, but we are sleeping in the same cave now in the real world. Yunxi looked at Lulu's red face and trembling animal ears, appreciating her feelings. Hey, stop. You are Water God's apostle, how can you carry off Water God's bride? Yunke had watched them for a period of time. In fact, she had almost been blinded by their sparking big show of affection. She couldn't stand it any longer. As Water God's apostle, you were given Water God's mask. How could you betray Water God? Equivalent exchange was an immutable rule in the world. Since they had obtained Water God's masks, they should never betray Water God and join other camps. Sorry, but love just happened suddenly. I just can't control myself, Yunshi said and waited for Lulu's answer, even though he knew that even he wouldn't be convinced by this lie. I can't answer you now. Lulu hesitated. She froze on the ground. Finally, she shook her head and ran away like a little rabbit. I told you. She is a candidate bride for Water God. You can't do anything to her. If you really want to have a love affair, there are still several good girls in the village. You are Water God's apostle. It should be very easy to you. Yun-Kei persuaded Yun-Shi from a rational standpoint. But I only want her. Yun-Shi couldn't tell Yun-Kei the truth. He couldn't tell her that Lulu was a member of his Star Wings Knight, so she couldn't be chosen. Not only Lulu, all the Star Wings Knight's girls couldn't be chosen as Water God's bride. Yun-Shi felt that Water God's world was just too real. He didn't know what changes would happen to them if they became Water God's brides. He didn't dare take the risk. He wanted to do his best to help them. As for his proposal, at any rate, he was still wearing Water God's mask. No one would know his true identity in this world, and after this star trial finished, they would think that this was just a dream. The world was big. There must be other girls who could let Water God feel satisfied. Are you nuts? You are doing something that isn't suitable for your identity. Don't forget where your power comes from and the meaning of your mask. Yun-Kei pointed at Yun-Shi's mask and warned him. I know. I know how powerful Water God is, more than you'll ever know. Yun-Shi touched his silver mask. He knew that he couldn't change his camp and had to fight against the Sky Sword. But even so, he still wanted to finish his quest with his will unbending. The mask was fake, but his heart was real and hot. I hope that you really know and keep it in your mind. This girl has been chosen as a candidate bride for Water God. I won't allow you to do anything to her. Yun-Kei stared at Yun-Shi as if he was something dirty. You don't understand. You don't understand. Yun-Shi shook his head. Whilst Yun-Shi and Yun-Kei argued, Lulu was indulging in the ecstasy of being proposed to by Yun-Shi. How could she refuse him? How would she disagree with his proposal? She didn't want to disappoint him, however, the other respectful apostle was looking at them. She just couldn't say, I agree, in that case. Why? Why? Why did he suddenly propose to me? It was too forward. Shouldn't love be more step-by-step and gentle? But he won't stay in this village too long. If I don't give him a positive answer, I may lose him. Hoa! What should I do? What should I do? Be quick, figure out a way. The girl knocked her head with her pestle, as if this action could help her make a decision. However, she was very happy now. Pit-a-pat. 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 The girl's heartbeat echoed inside the small room, ineffably warm and charming. Chapter 156, Separate and Go Different Ways. The second day, Yun-Kei showed her quality as an elite of 10 Leaves Alliance. She visited all the girls in the small village and recorded their heights, 3 measurements, and appearances on an exquisite scroll. Taking the scroll as a reference, she picked out 10 candidates as Water God's bride. She observed and rated them from all angles. At the end, Lulu was still the girl who had the highest rating. Her rating was much higher than others. If they could only choose Water God's bride from this small village, then she would be the only suitable candidate. At the same time, Yun-Shi was talking with the villagers. Dear Apostle, recently, the income tax man from the city increased our village's tax rate again. Our burden is too heavy. I heard that there is a new cult in the south. That is ridiculous. What do they want to do? Aren't we all water gods believers? We haven't seen any water gods apostle for hundreds of years. It's our honor to see you. What? Are there beautiful girls in the nearby villages? Well, of course there are. Compared to Yun Kei, who always collected information quickly and precisely, Yun Shi was more amicable and approachable. He had become integrated with the villagers. Yun Hai, don't waste your time. Yun Kei just passed by this place. She frowned after seeing this scene. They were just ordinary villagers, not at the same level as them at all. Even if Yun Hai wanted to gather information from them, why didn't he just order them to tell him everything they knew? He didn't need to waste his time in this way. Roar! The white tiger raised its paws with hostility. Stop wasting your time. We must find the most suitable bride for Water God. Seeing that Yun Shi wasn't going to listen her words, Yun Kei looked at him with disdain. What a stupid man. Don't you know that your efficiency is just too bad? Yun Kei, I'm not wasting my time. It is just not that simple. Yun Shi leisurely stood up. This time, the star trial was so different from his past experience. Because this was a real world. Yun Shi didn't know how the stars could do this, but he had confirmed that the people in this world were real. They had independent memories and souls. They had their love, hatred, anger and fear. This wasn't a lifeless world like the dark forest or the tall tower had been. This was a world of colors of every kind. The more he understood Water God's world, the more thoughts and feelings he experienced within his mind. Yun Shi could feel this world's difference. This world was a living painting, containing himself and Yun Quebec. This time, he wasn't fighting alone. I don't understand. Why did Water God choose you as its apostle? Yun Kei said and looked at Yun Shi with a puzzled look. Didn't he want to obtain Water God's last reward? Equivalent exchange was a constant rule for her. The stronger the power she wanted to obtain, the more the effort she had to input. She must move on her road as quickly as she could, so she didn't have time to stop. This world's background and people meant nothing to her. Her only goal here was to find a suitable bride for Water God. Well, you can just take your time here. I will go to the next village. No common goal, no common cause to cooperate. Yun Kei felt that her partner, the apostle who named himself Yun Hai, was really an unreliable man. She didn't want to cooperate with him any longer. You go first. Little Moo and I will stay here for a period of time. Maybe our efficiency will be higher after separating. Goodbye, Yun Kei said, then immediately left the village with carrying the scroll she had made. Perhaps they wouldn't see each other again. Their ways of doing things were totally different. She was prepared to walk around the world as fast as possible, then find the most beautiful bride for Water God to complete the quest. As for Yun Hai, perhaps after she finished the quest, he would be still wandering around this area. Sigh, why did Water God choose him? Roar! After Yun Kei left the village, the white tiger stretched itself, then turned its body near Yun Shi. In its heart, it felt that the apostle named Yun Kei was always as tense as a bowstring that was stretched taut, as if something forced him to keep moving without taking a rest. He was too dangerous. Yun Kei, what an incredible guy. Although Yun Kei despised Yun Shi still felt that the archer's temperament was respectable. He could feel Yun Kei's belief of never giving up in any circumstance. He was a real warrior. But wasn't he an archer? Why does he have such a warrior-style temperament? Isn't an archer a career where one is always sniping their enemies stealthily from a distance? Huff, huff, when Yunshi was thinking, a feeble figure ran towards him. Cough, ha, Lulu was running with all her strength. Perhaps she had never run as fast as this in her life. Thank God. You haven't left. Lulu felt a sense of relief looking at Yunshi's silver mask. Everyone said that the apostle had left. I thought that it was you. Oh, it's Yun Quebec. He has gone to the next village. Yunshi's heart ached as he looked at the girl panting for breath. I regret it. I'm regretting now. Lulu's shoulders slightly trembled. When she heard the news that the apostle had left, she felt her heart go cold as if she was falling into a frozen lake. Water gods' apostles didn't often appear in ordinary people's world. They were water god's spokesman and servant. Sometimes, they would come to the human world, but it wouldn't be for long. If it was Yun Shi but not Yun Kei who had left the village, Lulu felt that she would regret for a lifetime. Because there was still something she hadn't told him. The answer to Yun Shi's proposal. Maybe her answer would be counterintuitive and profane in the eyes of the villagers. However, it was the answer she had thought of for a whole night, which she would never regret. I agree. Yes, I want to be your bride. In the morning mist, the girl's blushing face was bright like the rising sun. Chapter 157, The First Fiancé. I don't want to lose you. For that, I will tell you my heart's feeling bravely. I want to live my whole life together with you. For the first time in her life, she had such a passion in her heart. This was the only opportunity to dominate her destiny after her parents' deaths. No matter what would happen, she wouldn't regret the decision she made at this moment. Have you really decided it? Yunshi looked at Lulu. The light in her eyes was so bright. She didn't have her past memory. She didn't know who he was and where he was from. In this world, Lulu was just an ordinary village girl who had only inherited a pharmaceutical skill from her parents. She was entitled to be Water God's bride, but she had decided to resist her destiny. She didn't know his true identity, but she still believed him, and trusting her life to him. In Yunshi's eyes, Lulu was so cute and bright like a sparkling gem. Unfortunately, this wasn't a real world. After Yunshi finished his quest, perhaps this world would return to the void. However, before that happened, he would promise her that she would become his fiancée. In response to her expectation, he would help her escape her fate from becoming Water God's bride. Do you really want to be my fiancé? Yunshi asked her in a gentle tone. Yes. I won't regret it. No matter what will happen, I want to stay with you. From today on, I hope I can learn a lot from you. Lulu shyly lowered her head. In Water God's world, once a girl agreed to marry a man, it meant that the girl had entrusted her life to the man. From that moment on, her life and her future would be bound together with that man tightly. Because Yunshi was Water God's apostle, his promise was equal to a vow from Water God. It would be guaranteed by the god. Side Quest 4, To Love, Starchild, is opened. You have signed the first contract with you first fiancé. Overlap Lulu's power of fate with your power. Yunshi heard the system's beeps. At the same time, a total new power flowed into his body without getting stuck. From now on, Lulu's power had totally belonged to Yunshi. The first superposition was completed. A large 1 pattern appeared behind the side quest 4 in the system. It meant the current number of Yunshi's fiancé. Thank you. Thank you for trusting me. Yunshi held the girl's hands. Her hands were soft but warm and strong. If she hadn't decided to accept him, she wouldn't have run to this place desperately to tell him her answer. Whoa. I will try my best. I know how to cook, clean the room, refine medicine and what to do at night, Lulu spoke haltingly. Her ears turned pink after saying that. Don't worry. You are still a child. I will marry you after you grow up, Yunshi said. He smiled, looking at Lulu's bewildered expression. I'm not a child. At my age, many girls have had babies. Lulu threw out her chest. She wasn't lying. Many girls in the village, some of them even younger than her, were already married. Yunshi was agape and tongue-tied. Wasn't it only for helping her to avoid to be chosen as water god's bride? Why did she look at me so seriously? Did I say something wrong? Did she misunderstand my words? But why? Why do her shy eyes and blushing face look so cute? I know. I'm not mature enough. Dear Apostle, you are a great man, you must have had a lot of brides. However, I have my own strong points. I'm just a third-ranked pharmacist, but I'm still growing. I still stand a chance to reach the 4th rank. So, don't look down on me. Lulu pouted. Wait. I don't have a lot of brides. You are my first fiancé. Yunshi raised his hands. Gee. I'm the first. Impossible. Many people in our village have 3 or 4 wives. Lulu looked at Yunshi in surprise. You are so mature and strong, why don't you marry a lot of brides? It's too abnormal. Well, is this the tradition of this world? Nah. Anyway, you are my first fiancé. I promise. Yunshi didn't know how to explain it. He looked like a middle-aged man now. It seemed that in this world, it was very strange that a man at his age hadn't got married. I'm the first, Lulu was shocked. To become the great apostle's first wife, what a great honor. She was just a village girl. Did she really deserve it? According to the tradition in Water God's world, a man could marry several wives. Normally, a man's first wife was very important. According to the man's identity and family, the man's first wife had been decided even before he became a grown-up. Marriage must be well-matched in social and economic status. This was a basic rule that had been recognized by all the classes in the world. She was the first. She didn't even dare to dream it. Water God's apostle was handsome and personable. Shouldn't he have married dozens of brides? Don't worry. I will be responsible for you. Looking at Lulu's confused face, Yunshi smiled with the corners of his mouth upward. He gently stroked her head and said, I want you to be my first fiancé. No, I can't. Lulu's thoughts returned to the world. She quickly shook her head. No, you can't say no. You are the first. Yunshi teased her. Anyway, this was just a trial world. After the star trial finished, she would forget this experience. Yes, I'm not going to become a scum. It's not my intention. I just want to help the girls avoid to become Water God's brides, and increase my power incidentally. Was this the true meaning to side quest 4? But, I don't deserve it, Lulu said, at least, not till after I become a 4th-ranked pharmacist, don't be afraid. I believe in you. Do you believe in me? If so, believe in yourself, believe in the you that I have faith in. You are weak now, but please, believe that you are a girl that deserves to be my bride. Chapter 158, The Wedding Gown, Is It Real? Even if an ordinary, weak girl like me deserves to be your bride. Dear Apostle, do you really believe in me? Lulu gazed at Yunshi's mask with excitement and hesitation. He was the first person who had believed in her life. She was just an ordinary girl who was born in an ordinary village, a girl who only knew how to make medicine. Did she really deserve his trust? When Yunshi held her hands, her heart was beating fast, feeling the temperature of Yunshi's hands. She could barely look at Yunshi's eyes after hearing his words. Yes, you should trust yourself. You will become a lady who won't lose out to anyone in the world. Yunshi was sure about it, because her fate had been changed by his seed in her body. According to what Mayer had told him, she had a limitless, bright future. I will try my best. Lulu blushed. She felt that her hands had almost been melted in Yunshi's warm hands. What should I do? Does my face look strange now? Will he feel that I'm a weird girl? Oh, his hands are so big. Ah. Idiot. Idiot. I'm an idiot. What am I thinking? Why didn't I behave more gentle and restrained? What a shame. Not surprisingly, compared to the honorable apostle, I'm still a child. He just said a few words, but he helped me regain my courage. I raise my head and gaze at his mask. I can feel his mature temperament and gritty determination. Am I really his first fiancé? To be such a great man's first fiancé, it's wonderful, like a dream. I must make greater efforts to become a better lady, so that I can live up to him. After that, Yunshi announced his engagement with Lulu to the village people. Oh. Dear Apostle, you will marry Lulu. It's her honor. Oh, praise Water God. How lucky Lulu is. Dear Apostle, my daughter is also good. Of course, she isn't as good as Lulu, but if you don't mind, banquet. Banquet. We must hold a banquet immediately. This is the biggest event in our village's history. As was expected, all the villagers began to rave. They all showered their blessings on Lulu and Yunshi, and no one doubted if there was something wrong. Looking at these villagers, Yunshi felt slightly guilty in his heart, because he wasn't really going to marry Lulu. It was just to help her avoid becoming Water God's bride. However, everyone thought that it was the happiest thing for Lulu to marry Yunshi. Being affected by them, even Yunshi himself started to have such an illusion. The villagers built a dais beside the burning bonfire. Lulu was wearing the village's traditional clothes, standing beside Yunshi. Red and white cotton dress, black cotton belt and a flower-like hair headdress were the traditional clothes of the village, which would only be worn by the bride on her wedding. Yunshi said that it was just an engagement, but he was Water God's apostle. His marriage would be witnessed by the god, therefore no one thought that he would have any regrets. In everyone's eyes, including Lulu herself, when she agreed to be Yunshi's fiancée, she had become his property. In Water God's world, a girl agreeing to marry a man meant that she had entrusted her life to the man. Therefore, a wedding was an extremely holy ceremony in all the people's hearts. The villagers ignited the bonfire. They drank and danced, showering their blessings on Lulu. It was an important event that would be recorded in the village's history. Isn't it too formal? It is just an engagement ceremony. Looking at people's happy faces, Yunshi suddenly felt that something was wrong. He felt that it was nothing like an engagement ceremony, but like a wedding ceremony. Yes, it's our engagement ceremony. Lulu's answer subtly made Yunshi misunderstand the ceremony. Lulu's dog ears shook due to excitement. In the light of the bonfire, Lulu raised her hand in front of all the villagers. Today is a special day. I will sign an engagement with our respectful apostle. From this day forward, for better for worse, for richer, for poorer, I will offer my loyalty to the great apostle till I return to the great Water God's arms. From this day on, I will only be his wife. Praise Water God, let us meet in the most beautiful place, in the most wonderful season, in my most fantastic age. After the great apostle held my hands, I have regarded him as my only husband. I want to stay with him forever. I want to lend him my power. Everyone, please bless us. After Lulu's brave announcement finished, the villagers under the dais all clapped their hands excitedly. They just witnessed the wedding of the most beautiful girl in the village. Moreover, the bridegroom was a legendary water god's apostle. Their marriage would be recorded and eulogized from generation to generation. My apostle, can we start the last ceremony? Lulu said shyly and lowered her head. What's the last ceremony? Yunshi looked at Lulu in confusion. He didn't know the reason, but he felt that Lulu looked very guilty, because she didn't dare to look at his face. Can you come a little closer? I will only let you hear it. Lulu looked at Yunshi expectantly. She subconsciously stood on her toes. Yunshi lowered his head. Unexpectedly, Lulu raised herself on tiptoe and kissed his mouth. It was totally unexpected. Yunshi's lips were covered by Lulu's mouth tightly. It was a sweet, hot and numb feeling. He even tasted a light herbal touch. It was Lulu's girl's flavor. Chapter 159, Ceremony. What, isn't she too bold? Feeling the temperature remaining on his lips, and looking at Lulu's watery eyes, Yunshi was suddenly at a loss. This world was too real. He smelt the bouquet of liquor in the air and looked at the cute pharmacist girl. He looked around. These people had self-consciousness. They weren't puppets. He could hear their laughter with his ears. He could see their happy faces with his eyes. Compared to the two dark worlds he had experienced before, this world was just like a wonderful, fantastic dream. My apostle, from now on, I'm your woman, Lulu said with a blush. Kissing Yunshi had used up her guts. She never thought that she would do such a daring thing in her life, but she couldn't stop her irresistible impulse. According to tradition, the bridegroom should kiss his bride in that process. However, it seemed that Yunshi didn't know the traditional custom in their village, so she proactively kissed him. Great! Our Lulu got married. Haha, she was still a little girl not long ago. In the blink of an eye, she is already at the age of getting married. Lulu, you must be happy. The uncles cried, as if it was their daughter who got married today. Lulu's parents died when she was young. The villagers fed her together. From childhood, she had been a sensible girl. No one had seen her cry. After she could walk, she had started to help villagers with work. And after she discovered that she was talented in pharmaceutics, she studied harder than anyone. Today, Lulu would be married. Everyone blessed her and the kind water god's apostle, hoping that they could achieve happiness. Come here, Lulu. There is something you must learn today. Come here. We will teach you the necessary knowledge as a bride. He is an honorable water god's apostle. You must learn how to become more gentle. The ants in the village waved their hands at Lulu. Lulu walked to them, blushing her face. She uneasily listened their words. After a while, her fingers crossed together. I have to do that. Lulu looked as if she was going to cry out. It was too difficult. It was too early for her. Not only that. You have also to do this, yes. He is water god's apostle, besides, he is so handsome. He will have a lot of brides in the future. If you don't do your best, you will lose. Yes. Even though you have become water god's apostle's first bride and he doesn't mind your identity, you can't take a casual attitude. The girls who want to marry water god's apostle are as many as the reeds in the lake. At the same time, Yunshi was surrounded by a group of uncles. Come here, dear apostle. Perhaps this is the only opportunity in my life to drink with an apostle. This is the best grain wine in our village that has been stored in the cellar for 100 years. We were going to use it to pay tax, but who cares? Let's drink. Yes, yes. It doesn't matter. Mountain Lord can bless us, we don't need to worry about this year's harvest. Thank you, our great water god's apostle. Let's have a toast to our great water god's apostle. These villagers has regarded themselves as Lulu's family. They enthusiastically proposed a toast to Yunxi. Yunxi didn't have any experience in dealing with such a situation. Soon afterwards, he was already drunk. He didn't even notice that Little Moo had stealthily walked behind him. Roar! Looking at Yunxi's intoxicated look, Little Moo reached its paw and licked Yunxi's wine bowl. It was bitter and acrid. Why did humans like it? However, a minute later, Little Moo's eyes brightened up. What was this feeling? The tingling sensation on its tongue turned into luscious bouquet, spreading in its mouth slowly, then to its whole body. Good. Good. Very good. Interesting. Hiccup. Do you want to have a drink, Mountain Lord? The villagers were also drunk. They shouted, "Come on. Come one. Propose a toast to our Mountain Lord." What? The best wine has been drunk up. Then take out all the wines we have. It's our duty to let our great Mountain Lord feel happy. The white tiger happily looked at the small wine jugs the villagers just carried here. They took off the lids and let the bouquet spread in the air. Roar! I have decided. The villagers don't need to offer me cows and sheep as sacrifices. I will only accept wines from now on. The white tiger held a wine jug with its two front paws. It licked and sucked, then the wine had been drunk up. The delicious liquid let it feel that it was in heaven. These humans were sensible and useful. The white tiger was drunk. It looked at the villagers with satisfaction and decided to take care of them in the future, so that they could offer it more wines. There are 3 of Little Moo. Yunxi didn't have a huge body like the white tiger and had been drinking a lot. In fact, he was drunk, but still forced himself to be awake by using his hero-ranked ability. It's time, Lulu. Go, show your weapon as a woman. Even though he is water god's apostle, no man can refuse your weapon. Lulu, you are our village's honor. It's time to prove yourself. Ah! These ants just taught Lulu a lot of knowledge she had never learned from any book. She blushed, slowly walked to Yunxi and lifted him up. I'm gone. Lulu knew that the villagers were helping her. They made Yunxi drunk on purpose. Go, go. It will become a memorable night of yours. Sigh. Our Lulu will become a woman. Dear Apostle, please be good to Lulu. We don't dare to expect more except this. Even if you will have other brides in the future, don't forget our Lulu. Everyone looked at Lulu with an air of quiet understanding. 1/2 hour of a wedding night is worth 1,000 gold bars. Haha, we can't say it too clearly. Lulu's face was turning red. Don't tease me, everyone. Lulu lowered her head and supported Yunxi with her hands, leaving the bonfire as fast as she could. Roar! The white tiger was still drinking. The wine jugs beside it had been piled up like a hill. It would become a warm night. Chapter 160, The gap between their experiences. Yunxi didn't know when he had returned to the room. He had never drank so much wine before. If Lulu hadn't supported him with her arms, he would have toppled down to the ground. Yunxi slowly closed his eyes. Why was the world so real? Even the wine had an amazing effect. According to his judgment, this village should be a safety zone. He wouldn't need to worry about being attacked by enemies. Just like a night before the storm, the battle between the Sky Sword and Water God hadn't started yet. Gurgle. Yunshi heard the sound of flowing water. He vaguely opened his eyes and saw a foggy pool. Was it a hot spring? Master, let me help you take a bath, Lulu said shakily with courage. No. I can do it by myself, Yunshi muttered, trying to stop his titular fiancé's kindness. No, it's my duty as a wife. Lulu insisted, please let me help you. Yunshi hiccuped, and still shook his head. I'm going to start. Lulu ignored his refusal and started to take off his clothes. Yunshi finally realized something was wrong, but it was already too late. Lulu's soft hands had taken off Yunshi's clothes. Her face was red and hot, but her actions were unshrinking and fast. It's a wife's natural duty to help her husband to take a bath. I won't back down. Remembering what she was taught just now, Lulu ground her teeth and started to help Yunshi scrub his back. Under the stimulation of the warm water, Yunshi had no energy to stop her. He couldn't help and had to lie on the rock beside the hot spring. Lulu only wrapped a big bath towel around her body. Her smooth skin, snow-white feet, and the top half of her breasts were all exposed in front of Yunshi's eyes. Especially her cute, seductive appearance, which made her look like a mellow fruit that could be picked off at any time in Yunshi's eyes. Master, Yunshi's scorching eyes cooked Lulu's face red. Her ears shook and her gog-like tail wagged, which made Yunshi barely move his eyes away. If you don't mind, this place. I can. Lulu gazed at Yunshi with her expectant and nervous eyes. No, you are still too small. Even though Yunshi was drunk, he still firmly remembered that he shouldn't do anything to Lulu. She was just his titular fiancée in this world. It was a temporary relationship to help her and to achieve the goals of the strange quest to love Starchild. If he did something to Lulu under such circumstances, he would really become a scum. Lulu isn't small. Lulu pouted, then secretly looked at her own breasts. Oh, they were really very small. At this time, she really hoped that she could obtain the legendary multi-headed dragon's blood to make her breasts become bigger. Gee! What was multi-headed dragon's blood? Lulu was suddenly at a loss. She was absorbed in thought. Just now, some memories suddenly appeared in her mind. She suddenly remembered something about sword skills and the information about the multi-headed dragon. What was wrong with her? Never mind. She shook her head. Tonight was her wedding night. She must go a step forward with the respectful apostle. The respectful apostle said that she was too small to do that thing. Did it mean that she was allowed to do everything except that thing? Yes, it must be right. I'm smart. Come on, Lulu. You can do it. Lulu seriously looked at Yunshi's face, then kissed his lips again. At the same time, she purposely pressed her small but soft breasts on his chest. Lulu put her tongue into Yunshi's mouth and rubbed against his tongue. Although Yunshi was drunk, his body instinctively reacted. His nimble tongue subconsciously touched Lulu's tongue, reacting to her action with enthusiasm. Yunshi had learned well-developed kissing skills from his childhood sweethearts. How could Lulu be Yunshi's opponent? Soon afterwards, she had become breathless and befuddled, and couldn't stop herself groaning. Feeling the sweet, gentle touches, her heartbeat echoed in the silent hot spring. They were so close that could feel each other's breaths. Their tongues tempted them, from the shallower to the deeper, till out of control. Lulu's chest heaved as she gasped for breath. Her breaths could be heard clearly, and her skin had turned pink. Was this the necessary process to become a bride? Feeling the thrilling sensation in her body, she felt a little afraid and wanted to run away. However, it was too late. Her tongue was tangling with Yunxi's tongue. How could she say anything? Her watery eyes gazed at Yunxi, communicating her shyness and anxiety, but Yunxi didn't see it. He kissed her ears, neck, cheeks. When Lulu finally left Yunxi's arms in disorder, Yunxi had almost kissed her whole body. Hoa! Ants! It was too embarrassing. Sorry. I couldn't hold on. Lulu worried about her immature personality. Sure enough, the great apostle was the one who had rich experience. She was just an inexperienced girl. The gap between them was too wide. Chapter 161, Sky Sword Ow. My head hurts. Yunxi's eyes were stimulated by the morning sunshine. He gazed at the unfamiliar ceiling with a lifeless look. Where is this? Who am I? Why am I at this place? Where will I go? After a few moments, Yunxi finally remembered everything. This was Water God's fantasy island. He was here to take his star trial. Now, he had become Water God's apostle and obtained his first engagement contract in the first village, and had also opened the fourth side quest, to love, Starchild. At the same time, he also had an ultimate quest to find the most excellent bride for Water God. Oh! I was drunk. I don't believe that it was something I did. Yunxi only remembered a few things happened last night. He slept after he went to the hot spring. After that, he remembered that something ambiguous happened. He could remember Lulu's snow-white feet and her sweet lips. Lulu, was the girl Lulu? What an indiscreet experience. Yunxi smiled bitterly at his blurry memories of last night. I shouldn't drink too much. Master, are you awake? Lulu sat beside Yunxi and handed him a bowl of hangover cure soup. Don't be so timid. You can be more outgoing. Yunxi sensitively noticed that Lulu had a look of self-contempt, as if she had suffered some huge blow last night. I'm just a childish girl. It's my luck to marry you. Remembering her experience last night, she felt embarrassed. The gap between their experiences was too wide. As his bride, she actually ran away in fright last night. Master, how many females have you experienced? As was expected, even though the great apostle hadn't married, his experience was still far richer than hers. Well, I want to sleep a little longer. Yunxi was defeated by Lulu's innocent eyes. He hid into the warm folded quilt. Wake up, master. The other apostle is waiting for you. Lulu said. She knocked Yunxi's pillow with her medicine pestle. Yunkei. Has he come back? Yunxi knew that he couldn't pretend to be asleep. He hadn't forgotten his quest of investigating the nearby villages. Yes. He wants to see you as soon as possible. Lulu gazed at Yunxi's mask, and suddenly had a bad presentiment in her heart. She felt that something would be changed. I see. Yunxi stretched himself. Let me help you put on your clothes. Lulu gently pressed on Yunxi's shoulders and helped him wear clothes that were made by hers. Because it was clothes made by using the materials from old clothes, they didn't look like new clothes, but were very suitable for Yunxi's body shape. Master, gazing at Yunxi's back, Lulu indulged in her memories. In fact, they were her father's clothes. However, she couldn't even remember her father's face, because he passed away too early. The only thing he left in the world was this old clothes. What's wrong with the clothes? Yunxi looked at himself. It seemed that they were traditional clothes. Its sleeves were white and the cuffs were sewed with black patterns. No, nothing, Lulu said and shook her head, then pushed Yunshi's shoulders. Master, go do your things. No matter what are you going to do, I will support you. Thanks. Yunshi patted Lulu's shoulders, then turned around and left. In the village chief's house, Yunshi saw Yunkei, who had just returned from a nearby village. She seriously gazed at him and said, "We have a problem." What happened? You couldn't find suitable brides for Water God. Yunshi looked at Yunkei in confusion. No. It's going well. Look, this is the list of candidates. Yunkei handed over the second scroll she made to Yunshi. Yunshi opened the scroll and immediately noticed a girl's portrait. The smiling girl couldn't be anyone except for Ling Ling. He didn't expect that he would see another Star Wings Knight's girl so early. Gold will shine everywhere. They were excellent girls. Even though they had lost their memories, they were still the cutest girls in this world. It wasn't surprising to see them becoming the most suitable candidates in their villages. Ling Ling, a third-ranked female swordsman, 17 years old. Reading the information on the scroll, Yunshi felt that he would have his second fiancée soon. Are you going to do something to her? Yunkei noticed Yunshi's strange look, then said in disdain, "Look at yourself. Weren't you two freewheeling last night? Lulu is only 16 years old. I know you are not a man who knows how to control your desire, but we are looking for the suitable bride for Water God. Can you restrain your shameless, salacious character during this period of time?" "Ah. I think that I'm an upright gentleman." Yunshi innocently looked at Yunkei, not understanding why she was so angry. Puff. Yunkei drew in a deep breath, then said something serious. Even though the apostle named Yunhai was a helpless, estrus scum, but his combat power was strong. She couldn't ignore his combat record of defeating the Mountain Lord, although she didn't think that it could prove why Water God would choose him as its apostle. He was just a shameless thief inside. "I have found out who the Sky Sword is." What? Yunshi was shocked. He didn't expect that he would meet with the most terrible enemy in this trial so soon. It was a Sky Sword. A legend at the top of the whole Sky Sword God's domain. Who is the Sky Sword? Sheolangnis, a non-human Sky Sword. 300 years ago, she defeated the previous 10th Sky Sword and replaced the Sky Sword's ranking. She is a strong Sky Sword who stands a chance to become one of the top 3 Sky Swords. Before she became a Sky Sword, she was called a Slime Sword Master. Chapter 162, Slime's Legend, Slime Sword Master. Yunshi had never heard of such a strange title. Of course, maybe it was just because he was too ignorant. He didn't have any way to have heard of it in the small village he was born in. Most people in White Lotus Sword Domain only knew that Yunhai the Sword Master was a Sky Sword. To them, other Sky Swords were just like some distant legends. Yes. Come with me. Looking at Yunshi's face, Yunkei knew that he knew nothing about Sheolangnis, the most terrible newborn Sky Sword. Sometimes, a Sky Sword's ranking couldn't represent his true strength, because most of them were born in different eras and hadn't fought with each other. Then what was the standard people used to rank them? Other than the 3 Sky Swords who were recorded to have killed a god, people judged other Sky Swords by their fame during their eras. As a newborn Sky Sword, Sheolangnis hadn't had sufficient time to accumulate her fame, however, it was undoubtedly a top-class Sky Sword. Yes, generally, people thought that Sheolangnis was an it, and not a he nor a she. It was due to her race, slime. It was neither male nor female, nor was it a fantasy creature. It didn't even have parents, naturally it didn't have a name. It was said that her true body was a green slime. Sheolangnis wasn't its original name. It was a name it inherited from a girl it had swallowed. It was said that this sky sword had a terrible natural ability, unlimited division, and it could eat anything. If it was angry, it could even swallow a whole world. As a 10 Leaves Alliance elite, Yun-Kei had read about the slime sky sword's records. It was too exaggerated to say that it could eat a whole world, but it really had eaten a whole race. It was cruel and merciless, and had strong aggression. If it considered one as its enemy, no one could escape, no matter if it was a human, a city, or even a race. Yun-Kei had even read the Slime Sword Master's diary through a secret method. The diary recorded a part of its mood, which looked pretty messy and complicated. Tear off the surface, nothing in the world is unintelligible. Disinteresting, unpleasant, chaotic stuffs. Cry, tangle, confession, want to provoke my fond. How to describe my mood? Even to this day, I can't give an answer. I find that I'm a despicable creature. Noise, noise. So bored, so bored, so bored. Can't help it. I'm not good at handling relationships. I'm not happy. Too shallow. I'm bored. However, I hate to be eliminated. If I can't become the most popular one, I will find it unbearable. After all, I hate to be defeated. Even if I'm dirty and foul, even if I had to lie, if I can't look down on the earth, I will lose the meaning of my life. No calculation. No aversion. Enjoy the fruits after the people. She said that other people's happiness is my happiness. Is she an angel? Treated everyone equally and gently. I can't pray for her. I love her. I want to hear her cry. I want to make her cry. It is a good thing. But it is very important. I want to see her smile. It's unbelievable. I hate myself. Maybe I'm in love. Say yes and mean no. I thought this thing in my heart and did that thing. I couldn't do it. I was helpless. Today, the world is as ugly and beautiful as usual. I can't leave her alone. Therefore, I will keep going. I must become strong. To be honest, Yun-Kei didn't really understand what she had read. She only saw indifferent and arrogant through the words, which made her feel cold from the bottom of her heart. It was said that the slime liked a girl named Shealangnis, but finally, it ate her and inherited her name. In addition to the female body it often used, the slime sky sword also had various avatars, which were all inherited from the creatures it had eaten. Multi-headed blindworm, mountain-like old dragon, three-headed mutated golden dragon hawk. After the slime sword master became a sky sword, the strong beings it had eaten could be written into a long list. Even the 10 Leaves Alliance couldn't figure out how many creatures the slime sky sword had eaten and how strong it had become now. Apart from the 3 strongest sky swords, Shealangnis, who insisted that its title was Slime Sky Sword, was the last enemy Yun-Kei wanted to face because she could think of no way to defeat it. Even though slime was a kind of small and weak monster, but it was a slime that had been recognized as a sky sword. It had become an insoluble bug. As for the reason, one would know it after seeing it. Look, this is the omen of the sky sword's coming. Yun-Kei took Yun-Shi to a stream that was close to the village. She pointed at several water drop-like creatures and said in a serious tone, "Aren't they slimes?" Looking at the several weak monsters which could even be killed by ordinary people, Yun-Shi couldn't imagine the relationship between them and the sky sword. The several slimes had green skin and did not look sticky but very cute. He even had an impulse to poke and pinch them in his hands. Yes, they are the problem. They are the sky sword's avatars, containing endless evolution ability. Today, you only see several lower-level slimes which can even be killed by ordinary villagers easily, but soon afterwards, there will be more and more mutated slimes. No matter how many slimes you have killed, there will always be more and more of them. Metal slime, ruby slime, emerald slime, fire slime, dark slime, holy slime, till the golden slime king is born, then everything will end. Yun-Kei shook her head and continued, Golden Slime King can transform itself into all kinds of creatures, including dragons and other rare fantasy creatures. And Sheolangnus the Sky Sword is even more terrible than any Golden Slime King. It is the child of the whole slime race, it isn't even inferior to the great water god. Chapter 163. 3 phases. From what I know, the omen of Slime Sky Sword's coming is composed of 3 phases, Yun-Kei said. The first phase is the birth of green slimes. At first, there will only be several slimes. Gradually, there will be dozens of slimes, hundreds of slimes, thousands of slimes. In a month, the world will have thousands of different slimes. At first, the slimes are harmless. They don't attack any living beings and only do their best to find and absorb nutrient substance to replicate themselves. At this time, the process is still under control, Yun-Kei said in a serious tone. However, in the second step, elite slimes will be born amongst the green slimes. The proportion is 100:1. Elite slimes don't look different from ordinary green slimes, but they can naturally form a mental network amongst each other, connecting the whole slime race in the world. The principle of the mental network is still unknown, but its goal is to accelerate Sheolangnus's birth. As the mental network collects more and more energy, stronger and more stronger slimes will be born and twist the world's rules. Finally, after the birth of the Golden Slime King, the third phase will start. Speaking of this, Yun-Kei paused for a while. Even though 10 Leaves Alliance had only collected this much information. In the third phase, Sheolangnus will be born in the world, then she will control or destroy the world. Her other abilities and her Sky Sword are still unknown. Sky Sword was the title presented to the strongest swordsman in Sky Sword God's domain, however, it was also a sword's name. All the Sky Swords had their own Sky Swords. Of course, Sheolangnus had her Sky Sword. However, 10 Leaves Alliance failed to collect her Sky Sword's information, as if it didn't exist. It was inconsequent, because if Sheolangnus didn't have a Sky Sword, she wouldn't be recognized as a Sky Sword. Besides, according to my judgment, as long as there is still a slime left in the world, Sheolangnus won't die. Even if we eliminate all the slimes in the world, she will only be driven out of the world but not be killed. From the beginning, she was in an unassailable position. Yun-Kei knew the Sky Sword very well. Naturally, she didn't really think that Water God's camp could win. Fortunately, she knew that her quest wasn't to defeat the Sky Sword but to find the most beautiful bride for Water God. It was the only good news. If her quest was to defeat Sheolangnus the Slime Sky Sword, her percentage of winning would undoubtedly be 0. She wasn't at the same level as the Sky Sword. Just let Water God worry about the world's future. She thought. What a terrible Sky Sword. Yun-Shi finally understood what a terrible enemy they would face. It was the child of slime race and would never die as long as there was still a slime left in the universe. Moreover, it could reproduce and divide itself endless times, and could become stronger by swallowing its enemy. It was as strong as an evil god. Wait. Its properties. Yun-Shi suddenly had a vague idea in his heart, but failed to remember it. Therefore, what can we do? Yun-Shi shook his head and looked at the several green slimes. He had vaguely guessed at what Yun-Kei would do. Of course, kill them all. In the first phase, there is still an opportunity to take advantage of it. If the second phase starts and the slimes form a mental network, it will be too late. Yun-Kei said decisively. She had taken off her black bow from her back. I will clean this area and you go clean that area. Don't leave any of them alive. We must eliminate all the green slimes we can see. Even if we can't stop Shea-Langnis's coming, at least, we can do our best to delay the time. Now, killing time. After publishing the quest of Slimes Must Die, to Yun-Shi, Yun-Kei drew her bow. She shot 16 tracking arrows to those cute green slimes at the same time and accurately detonated their bodies. As the result, only several pools of green liquid remained on the ground. No, something is wrong. Yun-Shi agreed to Yun-Kei's judgment, but he didn't think that this method would be useful. Anyone could figure out this method of stopping Shea-Langnis. However, Yun-Kei had also said that Shea-Langnis had never been defeated before. Was it possible that no one had used this method before? Even ordinary people could kill these green slimes. You should leave now. Go kill the slimes in other areas. Yun-Kei ordered. Her every arrow was accurate and deathful, not letting those green slimes obtain even a slight chance to revive. After obtaining Water God's mask, she didn't need to worry about the number of her arrows. She could create arrows by using her blood, which were more handy, manageable and withdrawable. She had understood how to use her ability of blood control to the limit. Okay, I will go to other areas. Yun-Shi summoned the mists around him and slowly flew away. Yun-Kei was right. He could see green slimes in the forest, beside the stream and on the mountains. Judging from these slimes' appearances, these green jelly-like little creatures were indeed harmless. They didn't even eat plants. They could live within moist mists, soil and rotten leaves. In a way, they were even inferior to herbivores. It seemed that they also didn't have wits, because they didn't resist when they were eaten by other animals. After eating several slimes, animals gave up eating them, because they were too squishy and didn't have flesh and blood. They tasted just like water. After being ignored by various animals, these green slimes still kept wandering around the forest and jumping up and down beside the stream. Chapter 164, Yun-Shi's decision. Looking at the green slimes who were basking in the sun and eating soil, it was hard to believe that these lazy and lowly creatures were a Sky Sword's avatars. Yun-Shi hadn't known that a non-human creature could become a Sky Sword before. He imagined what kind of character this Sky Sword had. At least, when Yun-Shi caught a living slime and poked its warm and soft skin, he didn't have any hostility in his heart. Should he let go of these slimes? Anyway, according to what Yun-Kei said, as long as Shea-Langnis's avatars appeared in the world, her coming was already an established fact. In this world, only Water God was a match for Shea-Langnis. From the beginning, they didn't have the power to interfere in a war between two gods. Moreover, Water God hadn't commanded them to fight against the Sky Sword. Can there be a way to stop these slimes without killing them? Yun-Shi was lost in thought as he looked at these green slimes. In his previous trials, no matter if it was the Green Hippo or the Furious Stone Soldier Army, he had only needed to think about how to eliminate them with his maximum efficiency. He hadn't needed to think too much when he was struggling for survival. Cut across blood and death was his only choice to keep moving. However, it wasn't a good choice in this world. He didn't have to kill someone here, because there wasn't an enemy that was threatening his life, apart from the white tiger when it was controlled by some unknown secret skill. Even Shea-Langnis, the most terrible enemy in this world, was still just some feeble lower-level slimes at this moment. He had various choices. He had various futures. Perhaps this was the real purpose of his star trial. There wasn't a decided result. Every choice he made would lead him to a different future. In that case, although I'm in Water God's camp, I don't have to choose to hurt you. However, I also can't just let you keep dividing. Yun-Shi had made his choice. He didn't know which future this choice would lead him to, but he wouldn't regret it. If these slimes kept dividing, it would finally lead to an unmanageable result. Since that was so, he would do his best to stop them. As if there was a god that was arranging his fate in the unseen world, Yunxi's mask coincidentally could solve this problem. His mask could let him control water, and 99% of these slimes' bodies were water. Naturally, he could dominate these feeble slimes. Although Yunkei's mask offered her stronger attack power, she couldn't control these slimes, because they didn't have blood in their bodies. Become a part of me. Yunxi reached out his hand to perform his ability. A lot of mist flocked to these slimes. Soon afterwards, these slimes became smaller and smaller, finally were compressed to dust-like particles. Yunxi didn't kill them, but he had extracted the water out of their bodies. Even though his ability was irrational and inexplicable in ordinary people's eyes, it was indeed his hero-ranked power. It was the reason why only a person who had crossed the barrier between the third rank and the fourth could be called hero, because the person had overcome all worldly thoughts and entered sainthood. Only after that could one obtain their extraordinary power. Magic, divine spells, Taoist technology, alchemy, no matter what power you were learning and which god's domain you were in, only hero-ranked beings could be recognized by the world and explore the greater secrets in the world. The water mist Yunxi's mask offered him contained a part of water god's power. It was a hero-ranked ability that could control mist in a wide range. After being compressed, the polymer of hundreds of green slimes wasn't even bigger than a rice grain. Yunxi held them in his hand and could barely feel their weight. Not bad. In this case, the efficiency should be better than to kill them all. Yunxi let out a sigh of relief after making sure that the green, rice grain-like polymer was still alive. At first, it was just one of Yunxi's guesses. He didn't really expect that Water God's mask could let him do it. No wonder that it was a hero-ranked ability. It was too amazing. After that, Yunxi controlled the mists around him and compressed all the slimes he could see. His efficiency was very high. Compared to Yunkei, who had to kill slimes one by one, Yunxi was 10 times faster than her. Not bad. It seems that you are not good for nothing. Yunkei expressed her satisfaction with Yunxi's speed. Although he was inferior, shameless, and salacious, and actually dared to reach out his sinful hands to his fiancée, but at least, his combat power was reliable. His ability to eliminate all the slimes within a large area, in fact, Yunxi just compressed and hid them, was a necessary ability they needed currently. In that case, they should be able to greatly delay Shay Alongness the Sky Sword's arrival time. Taking this opportunity, she needed to collect the information about all the unmarried girls in the nearby villages. She didn't have time to take a rest. She must hurry. Time is life. After making sure that Yunkei had left, Yunxi gazed at a green gem in his hand with a curious look. The green gem wasn't bigger than his little finger. It was the polymer of the thousands of green slimes Yunxi had compressed. He hadn't expected that after he caught them all, they naturally merged together, and finally formed the beautiful green gem. No, gem wasn't a precise word to describe it. It just looked like a gem, but wasn't as cold as a common gem. On the contrary, it was warm, soft, and flexible, just like a girl's skin. How to describe his feeling precisely? In Yunxi's memory, the most similar thing was one of the things on a girl's chest. Cough. Yunxi shook his head. He put the green gem into his pocket and returned to the village. Master, you are back. Lulu was studying the etiquette of being a wife. She immediately put down her pestle and ran to Yunxi. In fact, Lulu, there is something I have to tell you. Yunxi hesitated, but finally said, maybe I will get my second fiancé soon. Chapter 165, Bride Expansion Planned. Master, which girl in the village will you marry? Lulu looked at Yunxi with curiosity. Gee. Why this reaction? Yunxi thought that after hearing his words, Lulu would feel aggrieved and would probably cry. After all, she didn't remember that she was a member of his Starwings Night and was just an ordinary girl living in the village now. Let me guess, except me, the girls in the village. Lulu counted her fingers. No, she doesn't belong to this village. Yunxi shook his head and said, she is a girl in a nearby village, and her name is Ling Ling. Ling Ling. Lulu's face changed. She was surprised. Master, have you seen Ling Ling? No, not yet. Yunxi looked at Lulu awkwardly. Master, Ling Ling is a prideful girl. If you want her to be your new fiancée, there may be some problems. Do you need me to persuade her? Lulu threw out her chest, and the expression on her face looked as if she was saying, I can solve this minor issue for you. Come on, praise me. What's wrong with this world? Why is my fiancé willing to help me propose to another girl? Don't you feel sad? Yunxi thought that this world's tradition was totally different from the real world he knew. Master, you are an excellent water god's apostle. It's your natural obligation to marry a lot of girls. It's already my good luck to be your first bride. So, I know I'm still naive and can't be a match for you now, but I will do my best to let you enjoy a happy life. Master, isn't a bride the woman who should support the person she likes? Lulu looked at Yunxi's eyes with sincerity. Her eyes were bright, seemingly saying that she firmly believed that it was an honored occurrence to marry a lot of girls. You are a good girl. Yunxi could neither cry nor laugh. In this world, it was a natural thing for a strong male to marry a lot of girls. In the eyes of the public, Yunhai was a great, hero-ranked apostle. If he insisted that he would only marry a single girl, it would be regarded as a crime in their eyes. Even though Ling Ling was a prideful girl, she would feel satisfied to be the apostle's fiancée. Lulu thought in her heart. This thing, there is no hurry. We don't have to be hasty. Yunxi couldn't stand Lulu's innocent eyes any longer. He felt that he was committing a crime. Fortunately, he only signed an engagement with her. As long as the star trial finished, she would return to the original girl in Starwings Night. As for proposing to Ling Ling, it was also a part of Yunxi's plan. The side quest to love, Starchild, was his only way to increase his strength in this trial world as far as he knew. As a member of Water God's camp, he was doomed to fight against the humans' camp, which would have Shea Longness the Sky Sword as their strongest combat power. In that case, he must improve his power as soon as possible. At the same time, he was also investigating the other quests. He wanted to find out the secret hiding behind the endless mist, the existence of apostles, and the hidden quest, which would only appear after he had finished the 3 side quests. Of course, he wouldn't give up on completing the main quest. Yun Kei was looking for water gods' brides through a wide range of investigations, and he would focus on the special girls he could find. Lulu in the first village, Ling Ling in the nearby village, and the girls of Starwings Night who would be found in other villages were all Yunxi's targets. However, can they really become water gods' bride candidates? Yunxi felt that Yun Kei and he had missed something. Water God desired change. It wanted to find a turning point to change the world. Was this great god really looking for the most beautiful girl? Would it be that simple? What did the Water God's bride mean to the world that was dominated by Water God? Anyway, let me finish the first side quest. I will name it as Bride Expansion Plan. Thinking over carefully, Yunxi finally made the decision. Since he couldn't just see the girls of Starwings Night becoming Water God's brides, therefore, he would propose to them all so that they would be exempted from the list of bride candidates. Lulu was the first. Ling Ling would be the second. Of course, Huayu, Xiao Chao, Meilon, and the other girls, none of them could be left out. Since they were involved into Water God's world due to him, he must take his responsibility. However, there was an insoluble problem with his plan. Will they accept my proposal? I am water god's apostle in this world, and they don't know me. Will they really accept a stranger's propose? Gazing at the pounding green gem in his hand, Yunshi was at a loss. The stars wouldn't give him a quest that he would be unable to complete. As the only side quest he could do currently, there must be a way to achieve it. For this reason, even if they refused him, he must propose to them again and again, till he was accepted by them and obtained their powers. Lulu, can I do it? Finally, Yunshi asked Lulu, the first girl who accepted his propose. Yes, master, you can do it. You can believe in me. You are an excellent, charismatic man. No girl can refuse your proposal. Please trust your wife. Lulu answered Yunshi seriously. She gasped her hands and made a decision in her heart. She must do her best to help Yunshi achieve his goal. Chapter 166, Side Quest 4. I hadn't expected that I would need to learn how to propose someday. Looking at the green gem on his fingertip, Yunshi felt that there must be something wrong with this world. He had prepared himself to die hundreds of times to challenge the most terrible monsters in Water God's world. However, there was no such monster that he needed to defeat, or at least, the enemy hadn't appeared up till now. Sheolongness, the sky sword, was still in her primary form. Even ordinary people could kill the green slimes easily. Using the power from his water god's mask, he had easily collected thousands of Sheolongness avatars, and the green gem aggregated by green slimes was shaking on his fingertip. You are a part of the sky sword's avatars? It's really hard to imagine. Pinching and rubbing the green gem, Yunshi felt that it had a very smooth feeling, like a girl's skin. The green gem jumped around in Yunshi's hand and seemingly it wouldn't escape. Probably its intelligence wasn't able to support its understanding of the meaning of escape. A slime wasn't a creature that lived by its speed, defense, or attack. It was simply because it could divide itself infinitely and could survive in any area. One can find ice slime on ice-capped mountains. One can find lava slime in lava lakes in volcanoes. One can find sand slime in dry deserts. One can find deep-sea slime in places that were 10,000 meters deep under the sea. Thinking it over carefully, the slime race wasn't strong. However, no matter how harsh the environment was, the slime race could produce subspecies to suit the environment. If it wasn't because the slime race didn't have too many strong individual units, probably they would be able to rise amongst all kinds of races. No. In fact, slime race was rising because they had had their race's child, Sheolongness, the sky sword, who was already as strong as a god. As a non-human being, she had been recognized as a sky sword. This fact itself had shown how strong she was and what great talent she had. In fact, it was too difficult for Yunshi to deal with such an enemy now. However, no matter how difficult it was, Yunshi wouldn't use it as an excuse to run away. So, if I want to survive, the only choice is to propose to the girls. Yunshi thought again and again. The meaning of this trial had gradually become clearer in his mind. From the sleeping beauty in his newbie trial, to the princess imprisoned in the tall tower in his formal trial, then to the side quest in this trial, he guessed that the stars were teaching him how to love. Unlike the previous trials, in this world, his goal had been expanded to dozens of times bigger. This time, he had to propose to all the Starwings Knights. I can become stronger and stronger through proposing, and there isn't a limit. Yunshi acutely realized the key point to achieve his quests in this world. Yunshi could overlap his power with other people's powers infinitely. This was a striking property. Habitually, Yunshi used his best-known unit, Green Hippo, as the measurement criteria. A hero-ranked person could slaughter 100 green hippos as easily as winking, but it didn't mean that the person's power was 100 times stronger than the green hippo's power. Overlapping a person's power to another person wasn't simply equal to 1 plus 1. For example, it wasn't easy for an ordinary person to beat the 10-second barrier in 100-meter dash. However, if an ordinary person could overlap his strength with another person's strength, the person would even be able to beat the 8-second barrier easily. The change in quantity causes the change in quality. If Yunqi's strength was 2 times stronger than the green hippo he faced in his newbie trial, then he could beat down dozens of green hippos at the same time. Once the limit was broken, he could become an invincible god of war. Yunqi counted how strong he would become after he obtained all the girl's powers. He was shocked by the calculation. He probably wouldn't be strong enough to defeat Shenlongness at that time, but he would still reach a realm that was beyond his imagination. Moreover, Side Quest 4 didn't have an upper limit, which meant that he could propose to as many girls as he wanted. Theoretically, he would finally be able to fight against the Sky Sword. Of course, it was just a theory. Yunqi didn't know how strong the Sky Sword was, and how many girls' powers he would need to obtain before he could defeat the Sky Sword. At the least, it wouldn't be sufficient if he only proposed to the Star Wings Knight's girls. He didn't know how many strong beings were in Water God's world. However, if there was a legend-ranked unmarried female and she accepted his proposal, he would stand a chance. Is there really such a strong female existing in this world? Isn't this a bug? After obtaining Water God's mask, Yunqi felt that the power he could use now was already very exaggerated. However, Side Quest 4 had let him realize that if he could understand how to love and how to propose to a lot of girls, even the 4th rank would become just a starting point for him. Chapter 167, How to Propose, is Learn to Love more effective than Death Battle. Looking at the Side Quest 4, Yunqi fell in doubt. It was hard to believe. However, it seemed that the stars really thought that Learn to Love was more effective. They even reminded him through such an obvious method. If he wanted to survive in future battles and finish the other quests, the basic principle was to finish Side Quest 4 first. To love, then become strong enough to experience the death battle. The star's love was too heavy, to the extent that Yunqi wanted to cry. In fact, I don't want to propose to so many girls. I want to be an upright gentleman. However, it seemed that the stars didn't think so. In that case, even though Yunqi had obtained his Water God's mask and could control the mist in this world, he still needed to do Side Quest 4 to strengthen himself. In order to achieve that, he had to ask for his first fiancé's help. The next morning, Yunqi found Lulu. You mean, you want to know the etiquette and instructions for proposing? Looking at Yunqi, who had just finished the wedding ceremony, and Yunqi still thought that it was just an engagement ceremony, with her, Lulu's face turned red. In fact, Master, you don't need to be too concerned. You are a great apostle. As long as you ask, there would be many girls who want to marry you. Oh, right, the other girls in the village also have feelings for you. Master, do you want maidservants? No. I need fiancés, no, brides. Yunqi looked at Lulu awkwardly. Why could he only finish the Side Quest 4 through this method? Normally, in order to become stronger, shouldn't he wash his body under the waterfall, brandish his sword in water to increase his stamina, or sit in meditation on the summit? Of course, Master, an excellent man like you deserve to have excellent brides. Let me introduce the customs in this area. The most common method to look for lovers is to take part in the ceremony, which will be held regularly by several villages together. If a man wants to propose to a girl, he will give the girl a gift during the ceremony. If the girl receives the gift, the man will have an opportunity. The more expensive or rare the gift is, the more sincerity and respect the man is showing. Of course, the social status gap between the man and the girl is also very important. However, once the man promises to marry the girl, there is no turning back. Lulu smiled and continued, "Master, you are a water god's apostle. Your engagement has the highest level. Therefore, even if you don't give a girl a gift and only make a verbal contract with her, both of you won't regret, otherwise, it will be regarded as an irreverence to the great water god." N. Ceremony, activity, the gathering place for young boys and girls. Gift, important, special, engagement, betrothal gifts, witness, marriage contract. Yunshi took out a notepad and recorded the main points Lulu explained on it. After recording them, Yunshi suddenly found that the engagement between Lulu and him didn't meet the common sense in this world. It was just a spur of the moment. He proposed to Lulu simply because she was a member of Starwing's Night. Before that, they hadn't met each other nor had they loved. He behaved like a scum who cheated her and took advantage of her difficulties. It wasn't right. It was wrong. Lulu wasn't his childhood sweetheart. Even in Starwing's Night, she was just a girl who longed for Mei, but not Yunshi. Even though she wouldn't remember what happens in this world after the trial finished, shouldn't he feel guilty for cheating this innocent girl? "Sorry, did I miss too many things? I haven't prepared a gift for you," Yunshi said, but Lulu suddenly covered his mouth with her hand. "No. It's enough. Haven't you had given me a most precious gift? Mountain Lord's hair is a priceless treasure. You gave it to me and it let me become a third-ranked pharmacist, nothing could be better than it. I'm satisfied. You are really a good girl." Looking at Lulu's smiling face, Yunshi felt even more guilty. Sigh. If it wasn't because Side Quest 4 was his only opportunity to fight against the Sky Sword, he wouldn't want to do it. "Come here, master, these are the fruits I just picked. Let me feed you," Lulu said. She had known Yunshi's goal. Since the great apostle wanted to marry a lot of girls, then as his first fiancée, she needed to help him. As for why he wanted so many brides, wasn't it a matter of course that a man like the great apostle wanted to have a lot of descendants? The world wasn't as peaceful as what it seemingly was. Disaster could strike at any time. Even in this ordinary village, people did their best to produce descendants in case that unexpected disaster would deplete the number of villagers. Strong people were respected by everyone because they could protect ordinary people. And water gods' apostles were the people who were at the top of the social class in this world because they could listen and relay the great water god's words. They were God's spokesmen, they were the people's heroes. Each of them had the power to change the world. As an ordinary girl who was proposed to by such a great man, it must be her destiny, Lulu thought in her heart. Therefore, it was her responsibility to help him achieve his goal because she liked the way the great apostle was very much. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.